Christmas, everyone. Hope everybody had a great Christmas today. Got lots of gifts. Hopefully some trains. That's all you can hope for, right? Anyway, we're going to go ahead and say hello to everybody. I'm glad you're all here, that you made it this Christmas day. So let's see, who got the Santa cookie? Looks like Hot Dog Pilot Andy got it. Andy, enjoy that Christmas cookie, man. And I'm giving away more than one cookie today. So who got the second cookie? Looks like the Gigliottis. Ray, you got the second cookie. Yay. And Lionel Trains. That's Thomas. Thomas, good to see you here. You got the third cookie. James from Dundas Junction Model Railroad. He had his own cookie, so he ain't getting one. Glad to see you here, James. Tom Grassy. Tom, Merry Christmas to you. And I'm going to give you a cookie, too, just because. Glad to see you here. And then we got, let's see who else here. John Nippenberg, Landmark Yards. I know you're driving, so probably can't chat back, but hopefully you're listening. And he says not a cookie was stirring, not even a stiff. Oh, and I got the wrong one there, damn it. Oh, can't even go back that far. Alright, well, anyway, that's what he said. And let me get back over here to... Alright. So anyway, good to see you, John. Hopefully you'll tune in when you get home. We got Derek Alexander. Derek, how's it going? Good to see you. He says, I may not be the first to get your cookie, but I made chocolate chip cookies earlier, and they were delicious. Merry Christmas, everyone. John Nippenberg, have a safe trip. Damn, I missed out on your chocolate chip cookies? Well, that ain't right. Let's see what else we got here. Still scrolling. Lots of scrolling. Seems like a whole lot of scrolling. Hey, Trigoglin, Pappy, how you doing? I know you can't hang in, but good to see you and Merry Christmas to you. And your family. And thank you. Thanks, Pappy. I will try and have a great show. Let's see. Who else we got here? Darren Faulkner. Hey, Darren, good to see you here, man. Enjoy the show and Merry Christmas to you. Who else we got here? Chuck Schreiber. Hey, Chuck, good to see you. Glad you can make it. Merry Christmas to you as well. And he says, Jim, and Merry Christmas to all riding aboard the Thursday night Shortline. There you go. And who else we got here? That might be everybody. I'm not sure yet. Still scrolling. Alright, that's everybody. It looks like we have a congratulations in order. James said, I'm getting all confused here. Our lives are going faster than Jim. Yeah, they are. We got a whole bunch of stuff here from happy anniversary to you, James, and your wife. Andy says that he met his wife in '88. Derek says 86 for him. I don't know when I met my wife. It was 20-some years ago. We didn't get married until I think 13 or 14 years ago. I'm terrible with remembering dates. James said he was engaged Christmas Eve the next year. Cool, that was what, 30-some years ago? Very nice. 10 years later for us, James says, alright. Derek says, met November in '86, engaged Valentine's Day '87, and married September '87. Good for you, man. Congrats. Alright, you got a lot of stuff here, man. Hello, Santa Jim. Hello, Big Jim. Merry Christmas. Absolutely. Tom Grassi said, met my first wife in 72. In high school, engaged Christmas 75, married May 1st, 76. Divorced June 24th, 2004, 28 years ago. Yep, it's a long time. Good, you found out the engine problem. I can't wait to hear about that one. It's up to give me a call either tonight or tomorrow. Rapido did a big announcement today at Go Trains. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. I do have some videos to show tonight, though. Some interesting stuff. Some fun stuff, so we'll see. And I didn't say hi to Thomas. Thomas Moore. Spike Man. How you doing, Thomas? Good to see you. I know you're in here because I saw you at some point. But I might have missed you on the hello. But anyway, that's everybody. So we had a little mishap here with the trains. The long train pulled by the ES-44s. We had a partial derailment on the boxcar behind the engines. They were still pulling, but the other ones are stuck. So I backed up to try and reconnect, but for whatever reason they're not hooking up, so I shut those down. But the small train, the Bloody Nose, is still running around the track. So I don't know if you can see it or not. Yeah, you might be able to catch it as it goes by. Anyway, other than that, like I said, we have quite a few videos to show. Most of them are short. I think 2 of them are 15 minutes long. Each the others are like 2 minutes or a minute and a half. It's pretty cool. We'll get to those in a bit. Like I said, I want to can't talk today. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Hope you had a great day. My day was pretty good. Got some gifts. I got a gift from my wife, and I gave her a gift. I'm very happy. So is she, because we didn't have a lot of money to spend. So we got each other things that we can actually use, you know. Anyway, so let's see. I'm working currently on this car here. This is a 85-foot Amtrak coach, which I got on eBay. Got it a few days ago. It's lighted, but it was a stupid lighting. Here's the box. Yeah, Amtrak coach car with lights. It did have a light, and the light did work, but kind of stupid. A single light in the middle, no interior. So that's got to go. So I printed up an interior for it. I gotta find some more people. I've got them floating around here to get them in the seats. And I would have had it finished, but once again, never fails. I had a problem with the buckboard and the where'd it go here? Oh, buckboard and the high-end capacitor for, you know, the keep alive circuit. The what do you call it? I can't remember what it's called now. Anyway, electronic component fell off it, so I have to put another one on there and get it running up and down again. I've got plenty of LEDs. I've got these here. These are single LEDs in the package. I bought 100 of them. I think I talked about this already, so I'm probably repeating myself, but that's okay. So anyway, that's the next project, and I am documenting it. So I will put up a how-to video on how I do this. And it'll be better than the how-to I did on the P42. And I gotta take this hat off. It's so hot. It's a neat idea, but it's kind of a nuisance to wear it. I wore it all day yesterday on Tom's live stream, and I'm not doing it again today. Is that a first or second gen? I think it's a second. It doesn't say on the box. I know it's not a 4, 5, or 6. So, yeah, it's a blue, after blue box. I got a hell of a deal on it. The guy wanted 19 bucks for it on eBay, and they had to make offers, so I offered him 15. And he accepted it real quick, so I jumped on it and bought it. It was the only one he had. I want to get a second one and do the same thing to it. But so far, I haven't been able to find one. I've checked eBay, I've checked Train World, and there's another train company out there that nobody's got one. So, I mean, eventually I'll find one, or I may have to pay more for the second one. Who knows, you know. I mean, some of those things are ridiculous, you know. And $114 for a new one from Walthers doesn't even have a light in it. For that kind of money, it ought to light it and do some other things for you, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. I mean, prices are going through the roof on a lot of this stuff. I printed one. Like I said, this is one of the 3D printed ones that I got, that I made. And this one lights up, and it does work, but you can't push it. And it's even as heavy as it is. I think it's because of the powered trucks that are on it. The wheels don't roll as well as they should. And I even greased them. That didn't help. Not really. It pulls nice, but you can't push it. And of course I think the dimensions are seriously wrong. This is supposed to be an 85-footer, yet it's about an inch longer than the one I bought. You can see here. That's actually it's almost 2 inches, an inch and a half. And it's also not as tall as this one that I bought. So I've got the dimensions wrong on this. I'm probably just gonna, you know, scalp the parts off of it and use it for whatever I wind up buying. Anyway, that's the plan with that. And then I had a third one that I took the guts out of. There's the bulbs and the keep alive circuit, but it doesn't work for some reason. I don't know if it blew out the LEDs or something went wrong on the buckboard or the rectifier. That's what I was looking for, the rectifier. I don't know what happened, so I'm just going to redo everything, you know, and get it done. Let's see, the new Rapido coaches announcing today are, yeah, I know, the Rapido's outrageously priced. It's the same price here. Well, I think it's 180 here, US dollars, but I'm not paying that much for a coach. I just don't care, you know. I mean, I paid less for the P40 too. So, you know, there's something wrong there. So, well, actually about the same money, but it's getting crazy, the prices they're getting for this stuff. And I'm simply not going to do it because I can't afford it, you know. There's other things I have to buy. Like I said, I have to get the motorman to do the back and forth for the passenger rail. That's 130 bucks last I looked. So, you know, I don't know what's gonna, if they keep raising the price on this stuff, it's gonna put a lot of us out of a hobby, I think, at some point. Something has to change. I mean, you know, like I said, the best thing we could do right now is stop buying this stuff and say, look, either you lower the prices or, you know, go belly up. Doesn't really matter to me one way or the other, you know. I'll print what I can, and I'll buy used stuff because it's cheaper, and go that way. Hey, Rick's Trades, how you doing? Good to see you here. Merry Christmas, my friend, and glad you're here to hang out with us for a while. So, hey, without further ado, I'm going to play a video. Let me see where I spent all day getting all the stuff sorted out, or tried to anyway. Here's one here that was sent to me. I don't remember who sent me this stuff. I should make notes, but I'm terrible at note making. Anyway, enjoy it. It's only a couple of minutes. It's funny. It's actually Christmas based, so here we go.
Growing up, I never believed in Santa Claus, but that all changed last year, and it was all because I finally saw him with my own two eyes. So you can just imagine my surprise. Oh, and Santa came down my chimney and he swept me off my feet. When Santa came down my chimney and he gave me a Christmas treat. I grabbed his Yule log and I licked his candy cane. Oh, Christmas will never be the same. I didn't know what I should think right away. Before I knew it, we were rolling around in his sleigh. On my face he spread all his Christmas cheer. Believe me, Santa comes more than once a year. Oh, and Santa came down my chimney and he swept me off my feet.
You gotta admit, that was funny. I think I found that one on my own. I don't remember, but it's still funny. We need a new host. All right, well, here's something a little cleaner. I don't remember who sent this to me. This is pretty good. It's only a few minutes long.
Everyone knows the story of Santa's Christmas sleigh and how the flying reindeer guide Santa on his way. But here's a little secret that almost no one knows. Santa's got a train that follows him everywhere he goes. Oh, Santa's train, here it comes rolling down the track. Boxcars filled with all the toys that won't fit in a sack. When you see that Christmas train, you'll know that Santa's near, bringing love and hope to all and spreading Christmas cheer. There's an elven conductor and an elven engineer, and elves that work the dining car, bringing up the rear. A tank car's filled with eggnog and a hopper reindeer feed. With Mrs. Claus milk and cookies, Santa's got everything he needs. Oh, Santa's train, here it comes rolling down the track. Boxcars filled with all the toys that won't fit in a sack. When you see that Christmas train, you'll know that Santa's near, bringing love and hope to all and spreading Christmas cheer. Sometimes Santa drives the train and lets the elves take flight. He notches up the throttle and races through the night, playing carols on the horn. He calls out as he goes, Merry Christmas to all the lots of ho, ho, ho's. Santa's train, here it comes rolling down the track. Boxcars filled with all the toys that won't fit in a sack. When you see that Christmas train, you'll know that Santa's near, bringing love and hope to all and spreading Christmas cheer. Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 ho.
Okay, and I know you liked that one because that was funny. I liked it. You like the eggnog tank car? Oh, hell yeah. And Messy Mason, how you doing? Good to see you. Merry Christmas, my friend. Glad you can make it. I saw that. I said, that's too cute. I can't remember. I don't know if it was Gerald sent me that or somebody sent it to me. I don't remember who. But it was funny. I said, I got to play that one, so. I got a couple, like I said, longer ones here that I'm going to play. These are interesting, actually. I was kind of surprised. Like this one here, it's, I don't know how many of you guys know about this. It was a a passenger locomotive and it was a locomotive and passenger car all in one piece. It was called the submarine because it kind of looked like a submarine. I'd never seen one before, so it's completely new to me. It's about a 15-minute video, but it's really interesting, so I'm going to play that for you. You can only run it in the winter. Yeah, that's true. Well, no, it probably wouldn't, Derek, or Andy. I'm sure it wouldn't. Still, it's pretty cool, though, you know. So, all right, let me play this one for you. Like it. It's about 15 minutes long. Before I plug it in, there goes the train behind me there. You'll see it. There you go. That's the bloody nose running. I tell you what, I think that's an MTH, and you know it's very consistent. It runs well. For some reason, it does better than the scale trains ES44s do. Go figure, right? Anyway, here's the video. Check it out. Yeah, I'm sure you'll like it.
100 years ago, Union Pacific faced financial collapse on its tiny branch lines until an engineer unveiled something so bizarre that passengers called it a submarine on wheels. Critics ridiculed its porthole windows, its knife-edge nose, and its gasoline engine, convinced it was doomed. Yet as steam bled money at $1 a mile, this alien-looking machine slashed costs and introduced aerodynamics to the rails. What made the world's first rail streamliner work, despite every reason it should have failed? The answer begins with the crisis that forced railroads to gamble on the unimaginable. Union Pacific's ledgers from the turn of the century read like a warning siren. Every mile of steam train on a branch line bled money, sometimes as much as $1 for every mile traveled. That figure was not just fuel, it was coal shovels scraping in the firebox, water towers along the route, and a crew roster that looked more like a small army than a passenger service. 4, sometimes 5 men were needed for even the quietest run: an engineer, a fireman, a conductor, a brakeman, and often a baggage handler. Each paycheck added weight to the company's burden. Routine maintenance was another relentless drain. Steam engines demanded constant attention, valves to adjust, boilers to inspect, wheels and rods to grease, all before the train even left the yard. Breakdowns were not rare, they were expected. Every lost hour meant more wages, more wasted coal, and more angry letters from towns waiting for late trains. For most small towns, the passenger count barely reached double digits. 5 people might ride a 200-ton locomotive built to haul 100. The math was brutal. Coal prices climbed, wages rose, and the cost of keeping a steam engine hot for a handful of riders made every empty seat a liability. Accountants tracked every penny, and the numbers told a story of slow-motion disaster. The branch lines were not just unprofitable, they were dragging the whole system down. Something had to give, or the rails would go cold and silent in the heartland. Union Pacific's senior officers gathered around reports that spelled out the problem in black and white. The branch lines, once a symbol of growth, had become a financial sinkhole. The numbers were relentless. Every mile run by a steam locomotive drained the company's resources, and the prospect of abandoning small-town service was unthinkable. The question wasn't whether something had to change, but how quickly a solution could be found. In 1904, a new directive landed on the desks of the engineering department. The board authorized a special fund for experimental motive power. It wasn't a blank check, but it was enough to start building prototypes, anything that could promise lower costs and keep the rails alive through the heartland. The target was ambitious. The accountants wanted a machine that could run for just 12 cents a mile, a fraction of what steam demanded. That number became a rallying cry: 12 cents or bust. The mandate was clear: find a way to cut costs or prepare to shutter the lines for good. The Omaha shops, led by William McKean, received their marching orders. Instead of another round of repairs on tired steam engines, they were told to try something radical. Gasoline engines, steel bodies, new shapes, nothing was off the table, as long as it could deliver a cheap, reliable ride. The next step would belong to the engineers, and to a superintendent who saw the future not in coal and steam, but in something sleeker, lighter, and far more daring. William R. McKean Jr. didn't see himself as a tinkerer. He was the superintendent of motive power and machinery at Union Pacific, a man with a mandate and a ledger full of ugly numbers. Where others saw a dead end for rural railroads, McKean saw an engineering puzzle begging for a new kind of solution. He didn't want to patch up old steamers or squeeze another year out of tired technology. Instead, he started with a blank sheet and a simple, radical idea. What if the future of railways didn't look like a train at all? McKean's approach was almost stubbornly modern. He borrowed from the world of racing cars and ocean liners, not from the locomotive shed. He talked about air as freight because every pound of resistance meant wasted fuel and wasted money. His patent filings and public statements hammered the same point. Wind resistance was the enemy. The answer wasn't more horsepower or heavier steel, but a shape that could slip through the air with minimal drag. He insisted on a knife-edge nose, parabolic and sharp, slicing the atmosphere instead of battering it. The body was all steel, with smooth sides and a rounded tail, no exposed rivets, no decorative clutter. Even the windows were round, like portholes on a ship, distributing stress evenly and keeping the weight down. The center entrance dropped low, making boarding easy in small-town stations without high platforms. Every detail had a purpose. Every curve was calculated. McKean's vision was more than a machine. It was a philosophy, efficiency through design, not brute force. He didn't want to build another dinosaur, he wanted to invent the wind splitter. And for a brief, shining moment, he convinced a railroad to let him try. The McKean car didn't just break the mold, it tossed the mold out the window. The first thing that hit onlookers was the body. A single seamless shell of steel stretched over a frame that ran the length of the car. Unlike the usual patchwork of rivets and panels that marked every steam coach, this hull gleamed smooth and unbroken, more like a ship than a train. The prow came to a sharp parabolic point, slicing forward with a purpose that felt almost aggressive. Every inch was calculated to fight the wind, not just survive it. Then came the windows. Instead of rectangles, McKean insisted on round portholes, each one a perfect circle spaced evenly along the sides. It was not a whim. Circular openings distribute stress better than squares, letting the steel body stay strong without heavy, expensive framing. The result was a row of watertight, dust-proof dots that gave the car its most infamous nickname. Critics called it a submarine on wheels, and from the outside the comparison was hard to escape. The dark maroon paint only heightened the effect, making the car look like a torpedo barreling down the tracks. Boarding was another surprise. Instead of climbing high steps at the ends, passengers entered through a dropped center door called the center bed. The floor dipped low between the wheels, so even the smallest town platform could offer level boarding. Every detail was a solution to a problem. The shape, the skin, the portholes, the entrance. Together they created something so alien to railroad tradition that people laughed, pointed, and sometimes stared in disbelief. But every curve and circle had a job to do, and the real test would come when this steel torpedo faced the rails and the critics head-on. A gasoline engine built for a boat, bolted straight onto a steel frame, this was the heart of the McKean car. On paper, the numbers looked impressive. A straight six, sometimes pushing 200 horsepower, with a torque curve that resembled a cliff more than a hill. But turning that raw force onto the rails was another story. The drive system was brutally simple. Power left the engine through an air-operated clutch, then shot down a more silent chain to the front axle. Only one of the 4 axles actually did any work. There was no gearbox, no gentle ramp-up. The clutch either grabbed or it did not, and when it did, it hit with the subtlety of a sledgehammer. Starting from a stop, the engineer would rev the engine, build pressure, and then drop the clutch. The entire car would jolt forward, sometimes hard enough to throw passengers back in their seats. It was a mechanical punch, instant torque all at once. Maintenance crews dreaded the aftermath, snapped chains, sheared keys, and mounting complaints about the ride. Some early clutches failed so often that the Omaha shops had to redesign them, moving from hand-operated to air-powered, but even then the engagement was never smooth. On a good day, the McKean car launched like a racehorse with a bee under its saddle. On a bad day, it lurched, slipped, or stalled, sometimes all three inside the space of a city block. The violence of the start was legendary, and it earned the car a new wave of nicknames from crews and passengers alike. For the people who worked on them, every trip was a test of nerves and steel. The power was there, but taming it was another matter entirely. Backing up a McKean car was an act of pure mechanical theater. There was no reverse gear, no simple lever to pull. Instead, the engineer had to bring the car to a dead stop, climb down to the engine compartment, and reach for a special camshaft lever. Manuals called it the reversing procedure. Crews called it roulette. The process went like this: shut down the engine, shift the camshaft to a second set of lobes, adjust the ignition, and then restart the entire power plant, this time running backwards. Only then would the car grudgingly roll in reverse. It was slow, awkward, and more than a little nerve-wracking. If the engine failed to catch, the car sat stranded, blocking the tracks and drawing a crowd. Passengers waiting for a quick turnaround soon learned to settle in. Stories circulated of engineers sweating through the procedure as small-town kids gathered to watch, placing bets on whether the submarine would move or just belch smoke. Newspaper columns poked fun at the spectacle, and the nicknames multiplied: the Reverse Riddle, the Red Devil, Galloping Ghost, and the ever-popular Submarine on Wheels. Crews swapped their own names: the Kerosene Comedy, the Polka Dot Torpedo, and for the truly unlucky, the Vomiting Comet. For all its futuristic looks, the McKean car could be brought to its knees by a simple siding. Even a missed stop meant the whole process had to be repeated, with passengers rolling their eyes as the engineer went through the ritual again. The critics found endless material in these moments, but behind the laughter was a question. If this was the future, why did it look so ridiculous trying to go backwards? The answer, as always, was that the machine was ahead of its time, just not in the direction everyone expected. Test logs from the early McKean cars read like a challenge to everything the railroad industry thought it knew. On a flat stretch outside Omaha, engineers pushed the prototype to its limits. The numbers that came back were startling for 1905. The car reached 75 miles per hour on a measured run, a speed most steam engines could only dream of on branch lines. The aerodynamic nose, that sharp parabolic wedge, was not just for show. The Railroad Gazette reported the shape cut air resistance so dramatically that only 21.9 horsepower was lost to drag at speed, compared to 87.5 on a conventional, flat-fronted coach. That was a 75% reduction, on paper, a revolution in efficiency. Fuel economy told the same story. The 200 horsepower gasoline engine, running at a steady clip, managed 2.4 miles per gallon. For a 30-ton steel car, that figure bordered on the miraculous. Steam engines burned through coal and water at a rate that made every mile expensive, but the McKean car sipped its fuel. Mechanical efficiency from engine to wheel was measured at 96%. Nearly every ounce of power went straight to the rails. Crews recorded these figures with a mix of disbelief and pride. Old hands grumbled about the rough ride and the violence of the clutch, but when the accounting department ran the numbers, the results were hard to ignore. Where a steam train needed a full crew and mountains of coal, the McKean car ran with 2 men and a tank of gasoline. The cost per mile dropped to a fraction of what steam demanded. These were not just laboratory numbers or wishful thinking. The car was put into regular service, and the logs kept stacking up. Day after day, the fuel sheets and speed records confirmed what the engineers suspected. The submarine on wheels was not just a curiosity, it was a machine that could outrun, outlast, and save the dinosaurs of the steam age. For the first time, the math was on McKean's side. Orders for the McKean car came in faster than the Omaha shops could turn out hulls. What began as a single experiment for Union Pacific grew into a full production line, and a new company, McKean Motor Car Company, by 1908. Over the next decade, 152 of these steel torpedoes rolled out of the factory, each one stamped with a serial number and a promise of cheaper branch line service. Union Pacific took the lion's share, but the appeal did not stop at the company's borders. Railroads across the West and Midwest signed contracts. Southern Pacific, Missouri Pacific, Rock Island, and the Virginia and Truckee all put their own versions of the submarine on wheels into service. The build ledger reads like a cross-country survey. Some buyers wanted short cars for quick commuter runs, others ordered 70-footers with seating for nearly 100. Each railroad had its own paint scheme, but the polka dot portholes and knife-edge nose were impossible to disguise. The McKean look was unmistakable, whether gliding through Nebraska cornfields or creeping along the Nevada desert. The reach of the design extended far beyond the American heartland. Shipping manifests from the Omaha Works show McKean cars crated and loaded for ocean passage. In 1911, a set of cars was dispatched to Australia, where they ran on the Victorian Railways and Queensland lines, drawing curious crowds at every stop. Mexico placed its own orders, adding the submarine's silhouette to the roster of Ferrocarriles Nacionales. Even Canadian and Hawaiian lines experimented with the design, hoping the promise of low costs and modern looks would pay off in local service. For small towns, the arrival of a McKean car meant survival. Schedules that had been cut to the bone were restored or expanded. Local newspapers reported the first gasoline train's arrival as a spectacle, part science fiction, part lifeline. By 1915, the McKean car's footprint stretched from the prairies of Nebraska to the sugar fields of Queensland. The critics could laugh about the looks, but the numbers told a different story. 152 cars, dozens of railroads, and a handful of countries willing to bet their future on a machine that, just 10 years before, had seemed too strange to take seriously. Today, aerodynamic design is standard on every bullet train, yet it started with a so-called failure that dared to look different. Innovation rarely wins popularity contests in its own time. It shapes the world that follows. As we rush to reinvent transit for a changing planet, history reminds us, ridicule is often the first stop on the road to revolution. Thanks for riding along. Would you have boarded?
That was pretty interesting. I liked it anyway. And yeah, it does look a little bit like a doodle bug. Probably where the doodle bug idea came from. I'd never seen one before. It's before most of our time, you know, but it's still pretty interesting. James says, my grandfather was 42 in 1908. My grandfather must have been fairly old too, because my dad was born in 1919. Of course, his dad came over from Italy, so he passed long before I met him. But, so that's a damn long time ago, 1908. I think I need one of these. It'd be kind of cool to have one, I mean, but in reality, it's a damn ugly thing. I mean, you know. I don't think I'd actually want one, but I thought it was interesting because I'd never seen one before. And, you know, when you come up with something like that, it's like, okay, you know, we'll give it a shot. I've got 4 other videos to show. The next one's also 15 minutes long. I don't know how many of you guys know. Of course, not many of us know what the history of the caboose is. This, in 15 minutes, covers the discovery and application for a caboose, and then what ultimately replaced it. And I'm sure some of you know what replaced it. I know Tom Grassi knows. Rick says never seen anything. Yeah, well, I didn't either. Tom Grassi says, Jim, I think we should 3D print one of those. Yeah, could. I mean, but I don't think I'd want one, though. I mean, not even as a static model. That's just too weird, you know. Anyway, I'm going to play the caboose one. It's pretty good. It's about 15 minutes long too, but once again, I found it interesting and a lot of things I didn't know either. So here we go.
It is the biggest question most rail fans never ask. How did the most iconic car on American railroads
The early cabooses were rough, some with just 4 wheels. Question most rail fans never ask. How did the most iconic car on American railroads vanish almost overnight? Once, 34,000 bright red cabooses kept crews safe, and entire towns watched for the conductor in the cupola. Today, a cheap metal box has replaced an entire way of life, and the real reason reveals a collision of danger, invention, and a $381 million decision. So why did the caboose actually disappear? The answer starts with the risks no one else could see. On the muddy tracks of upstate New York in the 1840s, a conductor named Nat Williams had nowhere to work but the open air. Paperwork piled up, lanterns and flags needed a place to go, so Williams commandeered an empty boxcar, wedged in a crude wooden box for a seat, and set up a barrel as his desk. He called it a rolling office, but what he built was the first American caboose. At first, these makeshift shelters were little more than shanties on wheels, just enough to keep the wind and rain off the conductor and the brakemen as they bounced from town to town. Rail traffic grew, and the demands on crews multiplied. By the 1850s, railroads like Union Pacific were assigning dedicated cars to protect workers from the elements and keep operations running smoothly, especially on remote stretches. The early cabooses were rough, some with just 4 wheels, earning the nickname bobbers for their jarring ride. Ohio banned those in 1913 after too many injuries. 8-wheel versions soon took over, offering a steadier ride and more space for bunks, stoves, and tools. A breakthrough came in 1863 when T.B. Watson, a conductor on the Chicago and Northwestern, faced a problem. He could not see the length of his train from the crowded, windowless boxcar. Watson cut a hole in the roof and built a small platform above, the first cupola. From this perch, he could scan for shifting loads, broken couplers, or the telltale smoke of a hot bearing. The cupola quickly became standard, turning the caboose into a kind of lookout tower on wheels. By the 1870s, new cabooses rolled out of shops with built-in cupolas, their signature shape instantly recognizable across the country. Inside, the caboose evolved too. Conductors filled every corner with ledgers, signal flags, and lanterns. Brakemen rested on bunks between stops, heating coffee on a cast-iron stove. Over time, railroads added kitchens and even bathrooms, making the caboose a second home for crews who might spend more nights on the rails than at home. Each railroad painted their cabooses in bold colors, bright red for many, but also greens and blues, turning the last car into a moving billboard and a signal to anyone watching trackside. Every design change, from the first rough shelter to the high cupola, answered a single need: keep the crew safe, keep the train moving, and give the railroad a way to see trouble before disaster struck. But as trains grew longer and technology advanced, the dangers and the solutions would only get more complicated. Danger rode every mile with the early freight crews. Before automatic air brakes, stopping a train meant sending brakemen out along the tops of moving cars, day or night, in rain, sleet, or blinding snow. One slip on an icy ladder or a sudden jolt could send a man tumbling to the tracks below. Broken limbs, crushed hands, and worse were common. The caboose was more than a shelter. It was a lifeline, a place to regroup after risking everything to keep the train under control. By the 1880s, the Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen had formed in a Delaware and Hudson caboose, uniting workers who faced these hazards together. Their union became a force for safer working conditions, pushing for better breaks and fairer hours, but the risks never really left the rails. The caboose itself became a kind of badge. Railroads painted them in vivid colors: fire engine red, deep greens, bright blues, each car a rolling billboard for its company and a beacon for trackside towns. Logos and reporting marks stood out in bold type, turning the last car into a symbol recognized from New England to the Pacific coast. Kids waved as cabooses rolled past, and photographers waited to capture the splash of color against a gray landscape. By the 1920s, nearly 34,000 cabooses traveled American rails. Each one carried the marks of the crews who lived and worked inside: a battered stove, a patched bunk, a favorite lantern hung by the window. The cupola or bay window was the lookout, but the heart of the caboose was the sense of shared purpose. Conductors and brakemen watched over their train, their lives tied to every mile of track. The caboose was their office, their home, their shield against the dangers that came with every run. But for all its tradition and color, the caboose had to do more than just look the part. It had to keep its crew safe, provide a clear view of the train, and serve as a mobile command post. As trains grew longer and heavier, the challenge became clear. Any new system would have to match the caboose's record for safety and reliability, or crews would never trust it. The stakes were measured in lives, not just in miles or minutes. For decades, the caboose stood as proof that the railroad valued both its people and its image, and for a time, nothing else could take its place. Infrared beams scan each axle as a freight train thunders over a trackside hotbox detector. These sensors, first installed in the 1950s and refined over decades, read the temperature of every bearing, comparing each to its neighbors and to the day's ambient heat. If a single axle runs hot, signaling a failing bearing or a stuck brake, the detector flags the exact car and axle, alerting the crew by radio before a fire or derailment can start. By the 1980s, these detectors had become a silent line of defense, watching for danger day and night, unaffected by fog, snow, or darkness. But temperature was not the only thing that needed watching. The last car still had to prove the train was whole, its brakes holding steady. In 1969, the Florida East Coast Railway ran a bold experiment, removing cabooses entirely and mounting a compact metal box on the rear coupler. This first end-of-train device became known to crews as Fred, and it tapped directly into the brake pipe. Inside, a pressure sensor measured the air in the line. A motion detector checked whether the last car was rolling or stopped. Signals traveled by radio, sending live telemetry to a small screen in the locomotive. The engineer could see at a glance if the brakes were charged at the rear or if the train had come apart. If the worst happened, a command from the cab could trigger the device to dump air and slam the brakes at both ends of the train. Modern end-of-train devices weigh less than 30 pounds and run for days on a charge. They beam back a steady stream of data: brake pipe pressure, motion, battery status, and even GPS location. The system is standardized across North America, so any locomotive can talk to any ETD, no matter the railroad. With every mile, these devices quietly replace the eyes, ears, and hands that once rode in the cupola, matching every safety function the caboose once performed, but with silicon, sensors, and radio waves. Telemetry has become the new lookout. By 1980, every mile a caboose rolled cost the railroad 92 cents. Multiply that by millions of miles each year, and the numbers ballooned fast. Cabooses did not haul freight, did not generate revenue, and everyone needed fuel, maintenance, and a crew member on the payroll. In the boardrooms and accounting offices, the math was relentless. One terminal superintendent in Texas figured skipping caboose switches alone saved $300 a day per terminal. Multiply that across the country, and the industry's annual savings soared into the hundreds of millions. When the Lewiston Morning Tribune reported that railroads could save about $381 million every year by retiring cabooses, it was not just a headline, it was a warning shot. The old arguments about safety and tradition had lost their edge. Hotbox detectors and end-of-train devices did the job with silicon and sensors, not coffee and kerosene. Labor agreements in the 1980s dropped crew sizes from 5 to 2, and motel rooms replaced the rolling bunkhouse. The caboose, once a symbol of the railroad's human side, now looked like a financial anchor. But one thing still stood in the way: state laws. For over a century, states like Virginia required cabooses on every freight train. That changed on July 1st, 1988, when Virginia repealed its last mandatory caboose statute. Overnight, the legal barrier vanished. Railroads wasted no time. Cabooses vanished from mainline freights, replaced by a 30-pound box of electronics bolted to the rear coupler. The final decision was not poetic. It was practical, decisive, and impossible to argue with. Efficiency had won, and the era of the caboose was over. Automation now rides where tradition once lingered. Today, sensors and blinking lights keep watch. They save railroads hundreds of millions of dollars each year. But as efficiency reshapes every journey, the question remains: what else do we trade away, unseen, for progress? Share your thoughts below and join the conversation.
That was pretty good and educational. I think you're right, Andy. Eventually the drivers will be... They were talking about it. Well, they want to do that with airplanes, too. Take the pilots out and go full automation. Would you get on a plane if nobody was actually flying it? I sure as hell wouldn't. Hell, I want to get one now with people actually flying the damn thing. And once again, if you put electronics in a train and take away the human element, I think you're going to have big problems. And it always comes down to this anyway, you know. Oh, we got to save money. Hey, you cheap bastards. Pay the man and shut the fuck up, you know. That's crazy. And James, well, I thought Walters made one, you know, that you can bolt on to your any of your rolling stock. I'm pretty sure they do. Tom, you have one on one of your box cars. Where'd you get yours from? Rick Strain says Atlas and Atlas makes Freds and so does MTH. Okay. Hey, GRE 2057. Merry Christmas, my friend. Glad to see you in here. 2/3 of that information is incorrect because the person that made that video used AI to write the script for that video. Really? Are you sure? I have no idea. I just go by what I hear. I guess it's possible. AI is taking over everything nowadays, but I think that was actually made though before AI was a thing. So I don't know about that. Still, it's interesting nevertheless, and it does tend to make sense. Yeah, because I mean, everything that any industry does, of course, they always in the end look for ways to cut costs. I think, but initially though, they probably spend more money putting the tech in, and at some point it hopefully will pay itself off. And he said the axle counters often break down. Ask me how I know. Well, I've heard that too. That one bad one in Ohio last year, you know, they pulled that train for like 20 miles with an axle on fire. Where were the sensors? Apparently they didn't work. You know, and I really, if somebody had been in a caboose, they would have seen the flames or the smoke and could have halted the train before it derailed. So you can't replace men. I don't care what anybody says. Technology's fine and all, but you know what? You still need the human element to get something done efficiently. My volume's a little low. Well, that's probably because I don't have this close to me. That better? Of course, I got everything turned up for the videos too, but let me know if that improved it any at all. Rick says I have some of mine. I want to get one too, or probably a few of them. Oh, I still use cabooses, but sometimes if you don't want to use one, it'd be nice to have a Fred on the back of your train car. So that's cool, Derek. Thanks, man. So anyway, whether it's true or not, I can't say, but that seemed like a decent story to me. So I don't know. But you're right, GRE. There's a lot of AI out there that's really screwing things up, you know. Rick says no. It didn't improve the volume, Eddie? You guys are going to have to let me know because I can't hear anything. My monitors, I keep that turned down so I don't get any feedback, so I only know what's going on with the sound by what I see. And, you know, it is kind of low, though. I mean, why is it so damn low? Let me raise it up a little bit. Is that better? That should be. I don't know why the volume was down so low. It shouldn't have been. Or maybe I'm just not talking loud enough today. Who the hell knows? Tom says, Jim, I have the Bachman Fred Circuitron. The guys who make the tortoise machine and then got a box car with one already installed. There are many options, just not Bachman. Okay. Jerry says, all my trains in my layout have a caboose on them. Long live the caboose. Absolutely. I like the caboose. I think they're, you know, they're cool. Alright, that's better. Derek, cool. Yeah, Rick says it's better too, and so does GRE. Hey, Grandpa Rails, JD, how you doing? Merry Christmas, my friend. Good to see you in here. Yeah, it's but that's the cost of progress, you know. It's like you said, eventually they'll take the engineers out and they'll have the whole thing automated, and you know, until something goes wrong, and it ultimately will, and probably many people will die as a result of it, they're not going to address it. It's the same. I read a story today. It was interesting. They were talking about the Tesla Model 3, the car, you know, electric cars. And I said this before, if you lose power, you can't open the doors. That's not entirely true, because there is a backup system that has a manual, like a pull tab, that will unlatch the door, but see, the problem is most people don't know about it. And it's stupid anyway, because if you just had a mechanical connection between the door handle, both outside and inside, to the actual latch assembly, you would eliminate all those problems altogether. Why do you need an electric latch release when a physical connection is just as good? Actually much better. So there's a possibility now that Tesla may get sued over it because, you know, people died, can't get out of the damn car. And a lot of them don't know about the manual override to open the doors. If you didn't have an electric door, that wouldn't be an issue. So once again, you know, well, let's rely on electronics because, you know, what could go wrong, right? Well, we all know what could go wrong, everything. Now, he said, you know, and that's why when I was back before I had the stroke, I did a lot of car designs, worked mostly on my own cars, and I had a lot of ideas. One of the things I wanted to do was do away with the steering wheel and pedals and have a single joystick control. It's like, you know, like a game. And the only reason I abandoned it because I couldn't come up with a reliable backup system to handle the steering. The brakes and the gas were no problem because those would have been mechanical anyway, using cables. But the steering had to be straight up electric, and there really wasn't a secondary redundancy circuit that I could come up with in case something went wrong. So, you know, you're flying down the road at 70, 80 mile an hour, your steering fails on you, and you're screwed because there's no way to, you know, manually take control. And that's why I abandoned it. Otherwise, I probably would have came up with one, and I could have done it under an I would have had to reclassify the car as experimental. I actually looked into all this shit, and that would I could have bypassed all the safety and all the bullshit laws. But safety was really the bottom line. I thought that'd be great to have a joystick to control the car, except that if something goes wrong, where's your backup? Where's your redundancy circuit? And that was the problem. That's why I eventually said, not going to happen. Because I'm not that stupid. If I'm going to do something, I want to make sure I'm safe in it. Derek goes, you don't want the nuts opening the doors and throwing someone out. Come on, really? Well, that's probably true, too. But JD says maybe they should read the owner. Well, that's true. It is in the owner manual, according to Musk. But come on, JD. How many people actually read the fucking manual? You know. I mean, I did. I've never had a new car, but some of the used ones I bought actually still had manuals in them. And, you know, I'd be bored one day and look at them in. I mean, they didn't really tell you shit anyway. But you know, back in the day, nothing was really electrified that, you know, would cause you a problem. It had power seats, power windows, you know, but power door locks. But you could still manually operate you can manually operate the door locks, pull them up, and, you know, or pull the handle. It would unlatch the door, and you'd open the door. So, you know, if you flipped it in the water or something, more than likely you can get out of the car. But with all this electronic crap now, they're saying, well, we don't need that, you know. Now, Ford, the F-150 Lightning, the electric truck, they're all actually everything electric under Ford, including the hybrids, are having a problem with when you put it in park, it doesn't go into park. Because instead of using a mechanical parking pole like they used to, it's all electronic now. So, you know, somewhere along the line, a relay, a servo or something throws and, you know, locks up the car. But once again, it costs more to fix it, more to actually make it. If they just kept something that actually worked, they wouldn't have these problems. So now, Ford is recalling 255,000 F-150s. Both the electric ones and I think even some of the gas-powered ones. Once again, they're not using mechanical linkage for a parking brake, you know, for the park position. It's fucking stupid. Tom says, Jim, I figured the engine problem, the one that was stopping on the Frog. Well, what did you come up with? Was it the engine itself, or was it the track or the Frog? I still can't figure that one out. Ford going to stop making light. Well, you know, I've heard that, Rick. I've read it, and then I've heard that they're going to continue it, but make it cheaper or something else. I don't think Ford knows what the fuck they're doing. I read the other day that they're going to stop making the Focus, the Fiesta, and there's a third car, that, not the Mustang, but the three cheaper cars that they have, they're going to discontinue them because they can't make any money on them. So they're going to stay with the Mustang, of course, the Mustang Mach-E, the F-150 Lightning, and the F-150, well, the trucks, the 150, 250, 350, they'll keep all that stuff because they're high dollar, you know. If you get a four-wheel drive F-150 with all the power crap in it, you're looking at $60,000, $70,000. You know, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with people that pay that kind of money for a fucking truck, but you know, so but that's how they're making their money. JD says over-engineered pieces of junk. Well, of course they are. I wouldn't want one. I mean, if you gave me one, I'd sell it. You know, I don't trust them. I mean, I have an 03 Ford Ranger, and I have an 04 Grand Marquis. My wife has a 05 Mustang, and really her Mustang's got more crap in it than either my car or truck do, as far as, you know, spyware goes. I don't need that shit. It was the truck wire came off the joint. I resoldered it. Oh, no shit. That's something we would have never figured on, huh? Did you go around pulling wires and stuff, or did you happen to notice it? That's pretty good that you found it. Rick said they already stopped making the Fiesta. Yeah. He said the Focus is going away too, which, I mean, realistic with their little shitbox cars anyway. My old neighbor, Diane, she bought a Ford Focus. Brand new. It's a 20, I think it's a 24 she bought it in. She didn't have that car 6 months. Transmission laid down in it. Had a tow back end's all under warranty, fortunately. They wound up putting a new transmission in it. I think she only went a few more months, had more problems with it. It was on a recall, and they had to bring it back in and do something to it. And I'm going, you know, I think she paid like $22,000 for this piece of shit. It's a nice looking car, rides nice and all, but you know, the reality is, why do they keep screwing around with things? If it ain't broke, stop trying to fix it. Yeah, they're going to go more into hybrids. I heard that too. I think they said by 27 or 28, they expect most of their line will either be full electric or hybrid or both. I still think it's a mistake either way. I'll keep my gas engine, thank you. Tom said, Jim, I decided to take the show off and check the wires. It's all right, cool. Rick says, my wife has the Fiesta. My condolences. I don't trust those cars. They're too small. Of course, I'm kind of spoiled. You know, I grew up, you know, with sleds, land yachts, whatever you want to call them. I mean, you know, I always have big cars. You know, I drove a Pontiac Fiero for a while. I bought real cheap and I restored it. My intent was to sell it. I took too long to restore it. By the time I got it ready to sell, it wasn't worth nothing. If I got it done like a year sooner, I could have got $20-some thousand for it. So I wound up driving the damn thing for like 4 years. I put a V6 in it, so it was quick to get out. You know, I said it's got to get out of its own way. It's a little safer that way. But I mean, if you got hit in that thing, chances are you were going to die. You know, and I knew that, so I was extra careful. And like I said, it was pretty quick, so I get the hell out of the way. All right, Andy, have a good one, man. Thanks a lot for popping in, and once again, Merry Christmas to you, and have a good weekend, a safe one, and we'll probably see you on New Year's Day. And I think it falls on a Thursday, too, and I'll be here. GRE says, if it ain't broke, don't touch the dang thing. You're absolutely right, man. They need to stop fixing things, you know? Ford had good transmissions with the, I can't remember what, the one that's in my Grand Marquis is not a bad tranny. Well, the newer ones are all 10-speed automatics. Mine's a 5-speed automatic. It gets decent mileage for, a big-ass car with a V8 in it. But no, we could do better, and now they're having nothing but transmission problems. Stop screwing with the damn things. Jerry said, Jim, next week, Thursday, is New Year's Day. Is that live stream on New Year's Day? Absolutely. So, that's what I'm saying. It's just, men have made some great things over time. We've made incredible things. But then for some reason we got stupid and says, oh, we can make it even better. And that's where our mistake is happening now, because it's not really better. The problem with electronics is, and I'm a real tech freak in some ways, but electronics are simply not reliable enough to bet your life on. And that's what they're doing, Now, Ford's also got another recall on the F-150. The side curtain airbags, they go off on themselves and then they rip open. They don't work anyway. It's not the Takata bags. It's a different company, but it's a design flaw in the way things are made. And the thing is, what the hell you need that for? Look, if you get T-boned at 60 miles an hour, I don't care what the hell blows up in your face, you're probably going to die. If you don't, you'll wish you did. They're trying to substitute technology for safety. And it's really neither, because it fails. It doesn't do what it's supposed to, and sometimes it causes more problem than it solves. Nothing replaces common sense and paying attention to the road. I know not everybody does that, but for the ones who do, they're better off for it, I don't do the speed limit anywhere. Well, except the residential sections, but, I drive like a crazy man. I mean, really, for my age, people look at me and go, are you insane? No, it's just the way I drive. I've been driving that way since I was 12 years old, No accidents either that were my fault. It's just the way I drive, because I'm alert, I'm paying attention. I figure the faster I go, the more careful I have to be. Know what the hell's going on around me, Thanks, JD. 18 and 14, somebody's not hitting that thumbs up button. Don't let me find out who you are. Only kidding. Well, if you would, please hit the button, the thumbs up. JD says it's planned opposite. Well, that's true, it is. And that's another problem I have too, Henry Ford wanted to build a car that would last literally forever. And now everybody wants to build one that lasts a couple of years, so that you'll keep buying cars every, 3 or 4 or 5 years. You never actually own one because you're constantly making payments. It's nuts. I like all of us, JD. Or I like all of them. Yeah, we're all planned obsolescence. Yeah, maybe. They're trying to kill us off too, but seriously, it's got to stop. I said, I love computers and stuff, but they don't belong in cars. If we had the capacity to build a Starship, I mean a real one, like the Enterprise or something, it wouldn't last 50 years. You'd be lucky if it lasted 2 or 3. Because the electronics would go to shit in it that fast, And that's the problem we have with electronics right now. They simply don't last. We have to do more to figure out how to get longevity and 100%, operation out of each component we make. That doesn't exist yet. Grandpa Rail said, just put a student driver magnet on the back of your car. That does work, believe it or not. I've been behind a couple of them. Whoa, we're going to turn off over here, Rick says, no pays attention when they're driving too many smoking pot. Absolutely. And that's another thing, Put a damn jammer in the car that disables your phone while it's running. So if you have to call on it, you have to turn the damn car off. I know there's some, problems with that, or could be, so, some bad guys are chasing you down and want to kill you. You have to stop the car, turn it off to call 911. But, once again, why don't you have a gun? Don't rely on the cops to save your ass. Do it yourself. Hey, Willow Creek, man. How you doing, Brad? Good to see you here. Merry Christmas to you, my friend. So, that's what I'm saying. You have to take responsibility to some degree. And we need to, I was talking to my neighbor today about, the key cars. They're the ones from China and Japan. They're real tiny. Most of them are like either they're electric or some have a 2-cylinder gas engine in them. They'll do about, 60 mile an hour. That's about it. They're small. They're great, run around cars for in town or whatever. I would love to have one. I'd sell that Ranger in a heartbeat. I don't need much. Just a small pickup truck would be fine for me, And, supposedly Trump is trying to get it to where they're allowed to be in this country because a lot of states have banned them. You can't register them. Because, they're going to try and force you to buy that F-150 or Dodge Ram or a Chevy Silverado, which, $60,000 up. That's not going to happen. I don't have that kind of money, Now, if I get a truck for $10,000 or $12,000, shit, yeah, I'm going to buy it. And I don't give a damn whether it has airbags or not. I disconnect the airbags anyway. Both my vehicles, they don't work anymore. I've killed them all, because I don't need shit blowing up in my face. Because, I figure if I pay attention, I might be able to avoid the accident. I could be wrong. It still may happen. But I'll take my chances. I don't wear a seatbelt either for the same reason. So, the B-52 is still operational after 70. Yeah, but JD, there's no electronics in the B-52. Not really. It's mostly mechanical. And you could say the same about a lot of stuff that, DC-3, same thing. They've been around since World War II. They were originally World War II cargo planes. They're still the most reliable plane out there and one of the easiest, most reliable to fly. I would love to fly one, I know how, I just haven't had the opportunity to actually pilot one. But like I said, there wasn't a lot of electronics in it. It was really base electronics, you still flew the aircraft, with your feet and your hands. And, you take a 787, the latest one I think it is, the Boeing. You can't land that. The computer lands it. Because it's not possible for a man, or even two men, not really, to land the plane effectively. So they got electronics took over everything. That's great until they fuck up, and they will. So, I'm just saying. Yeah, you're probably right, Rick. You'll need a mortgage for your car. and put it on a 30-year loan, but it's only going to last you 5 if you're lucky. That's what I'm saying, man. It's just they had a giveaway here in Sebring at the one of the used car dealerships, and they were giving away a 2024 Ford Focus, brand new, but 24 model. And the guy goes, "You want to sign up for it?" I said, "I don't want that piece of shit." "Oh, it's free if you win." I said, "No, it's not, for one. I still have to pay taxes on it, which I can't afford, and I simply don't want it, Why wouldn't you want a new car? Because I don't need my fucking car spying on me or breaking down at the most inopportune time. See that car over there?" Pointed to my Grand Marquis. I said, "That's the last of the real cars in this country. I'm going to keep it, And if the engine blows up, I'll buy a new motor for it. Transmission blows up, I'll put another tranny in it. If the car's in good shape, it's got less than 100,000 miles on it. I'm the second owner. My dad was the first owner. And I've had the car since it had 13,000 miles on it. So I said, I'm not parting with that thing, man. That's a great car. This piece of shit, you're lucky you go a year without something blowing up in it. Keep it." The guy just looked at me like, So, but that's the truth of it, though. I mean, I honestly, if somebody gave me a new one, I'd take it. I'd sell it, probably the discount rate, just pick up a few quick bucks and get out from under it, but I don't want it, Hey, Papa John, how you doing? Merry Christmas, my friend. Good to see you here tonight. And a happy new train and all. There you go. Anybody get any trains for Christmas? I didn't. It's because the wife can't really afford them, and I couldn't either. Actually, I bought the Amtrak passenger car. That's kind of like my Christmas gift to myself that I'm working on right now to put lighting in it, but it is what it is. I'm still happy. So, anyway, let me run one of these other videos here. We got to get these things out of the way. Let's see which one's next. This one's pretty cool. This, I don't know where it is. I think it says it in the video. But this is a 1/8 scale rideable railroad, and it's got 35 miles worth of tracks. It's called Train Mountain. I don't know where it is, but it's pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and run it for you.
This might look like a normal railroad museum, with all sorts of old trains on display, but some of them get quite small. And these are the trains we're here to see. 1/8 scale model trains. I'm Mike. Welcome to Downey Live. Let me show you Train Mountain. This 1/8 scale model railroad is the world's longest rideable model train railroad, with over 35 miles of track. How long would that take you to run the whole thing?
I don't know.
And you guessed it, it's called Train Mountain. Now, Train Mountain is not just a giant loop of track. It is an entire railroad, complete with active switches, rail yards, crossing signals, bridges, tunnels, towns, and even a turntable. And we are gonna ride it all. I've always wanted to feel like a giant. I think I'm in the right place. We're here to meet Ron. So I've been paired up to ride with Ron here. And Ron, first things first, safety. What do I need to know about operating or walking around the tracks?
Don't trip. For safety, stay out of the way of the trains. Don't drag your feet when you're riding. Okay. Sometimes be a little careful leaning out when you're taking pictures. You can derail the cars if you lean too far.
Okay, that would be something I'd be liable to do. So good to know. Oh, that is quiet.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's a fully electronic system. Senses the train on the track.
Yeah.
And then there is a system that's actually very compatible with full-sized railroads.
Wow. So you don't have to radio in or anything?
No.
I have to admit, this is a very comfortable ride.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
It's even nicer in the sports car seats. Yeah. You really lay back. You have to be careful not to fall asleep sometimes.
And so this is your train?
Well, the locomotive is an Alco RS3. It was originally gas-powered. Now it's electric. This car caboose was a kit that I put together in my basement.
Are these just out of an old van?
Yeah. One set of batteries will do the 10-mile trip to Hope and back.
Wow.
So we're good for 20 miles at least.
That's a long day. So what did you do there?
That's a remote mechanical switch.
Okay.
So I set the switch right up here ahead of us, 40 feet ahead of us.
Oh, so that turns that switch ahead as well?
It turned this switch right ahead of us.
Ah.
And so it'll put us into the back shop here where the doors open.
Real trestle bridges and everything.
This is our track storage. This is all prefabricated track ready for installation somewhere.
Now, since it's the beginning of the season here at Train Mountain, we're going to help get the whole railroad up and running, starting with putting a derailed piece of equipment back on track. And this is the derailment we're here to save. You can see it's off the track. So what's the plan, Ron?
Okay, we're going to drop this re-railer.
Now, what I don't realize in the moment is how important this little red piece of metal will be. And there you go. All right. Wow.
That was easier than expected.
So what is the plan for you for the rest of the day?
Go for a ride.
That sounds pretty good. So, Ron here is now going to take us on the long loop around this entire facility. And what I didn't expect is just how long this will take. I'm not gonna lie, that makes me smile. All of this just makes me smile.
Disneyland for big kids.
Yeah, it is.
The neat thing about it is they give you the keys to all the rides.
In and around the yard are all sorts of switches. Some electric, some manual, and of course, a bridge or two. Now, we can putter around in the yard all day. Trust me, there's enough track around here. But we're here to ride out on the open track in the backcountry.
Boone says, I've never been lost in my life, but I was mighty bewildered for 3 days.
We're off to get lost in the woods.
Let's hope.
How big is the property?
2,200 acres,
And how many miles of track?
37.
37 miles of track. How long would that take you to run the whole thing?
I don't know.
Now, they take their railroading seriously around here, which means they operate this miniature railroad a lot like a full-size railroad, complete with specialized railroad equipment to do all of the hard work for them, like this track cleaning machine. Gotta get all the needles and pine cones off the track at the beginning of the season, otherwise you risk derailments. Now, this first stretch of track is through what is known as the Serpentines.
We are on the Serpentine District. We are at milepost 6.30.
We're on a downhill grade of 0.85, which is, as you just said, why we're snaking, hence the name Serpentine. We're gonna S-turn our way down because it's such a steep grade. Zigging and zagging back and forth between these cabins is scenic, but it can be a treacherous section of track. Derailed. These bloody pine needles. We have our first derailment. Goes under, just like we saw earlier. All right. Looks like we're back in business. That is a handy and mandatory tool.
So good.
Yeah. Not to worry, we're back up and running now. Just cruising through the forest on this beautiful day, navigating our way into the small mining town of Lilyville. Now, while we're here, I'd like to point out the detail work on Lilyville. Wow. Oh, wow. Look at that. These really are talented people volunteering here at Train Mountain. That's amazing. I mean, really, they did not need to decorate the inside of these buildings, but I'm glad they did. How?
The stairway to come in.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Ron? Yeah. How did you first get into model trains?
Oh, it goes way back. When I was a little kid, I played with S gauge was my first train, and then I had an O gauge, and then in high school I got into Atro.
Okay.
And when I graduated from college, I got a job with a company back in Chicago, and the boss there was into what they called live steam in those days, which was 1.5 gauge. And so I think he hired me because I had an interest in trains. Well, I started at Train Mountain in 2012 at the Triennial. I saw this on an ad on the internet and said, you know, that's my kind of engine. Just get you outside, get you doing something. I mean, it's beautiful forest country to work in. It's great people. First day I was here, I felt like I'd been here for years.
Now, for some reason, he trusted me enough to give it a try. Here we go. We're driving the train. We gotta make it up this hill. I get it. Now that Ron's feeling a little more comfortable with me on board, it's time we head out onto the big long track. Excuse me, sir. Would you like a ride today? Oh, sure. Yeah. Here we go. Just a little bit. What a day for a ride. All right.
Good shares.
And of course, they've got something cool, like the entry point to it is this tunnel that passes under a highway. This tunnel is going to take us now to the north side, but we're going underneath a highway. Just be careful out here. Remember to bring some water with you, because once you head out this way, it will be hours before you get back. Now, today's video wouldn't be possible without the ongoing support of today's sponsor, which is True Earth Laundry Eco Strips. These ones in particular are the fragrance-free version, but if you like a scent, well, they've got you covered. They have fresh linen, or if you're really wild, they've got you covered with Lilac Breeze. In this plastic-free, biodegradable, recyclable packaging is 32 loads of laundry, which means I can easily bring this envelope of laundry eco strips with me while I travel. It's really as simple as this. You load the laundry. You can tell I don't like doing laundry. All you do, open the packaging, pull out a sheet, which rips into 2 laundry eco strips. You only need one for a normal load. If you have a big load, you can use 2. Close it and run it. I don't like doing laundry, but I love using True Earth because it makes it easy and it reduces the amount of plastic in my household. So click the link in the description down below and use discount code Downey for 10% off for yourself and for the world. Let's get back to the video. I've opted to try out the sports car chairs, as he calls them. Mighty comfortable.
Yeah, just don't fall asleep and fall off.
As we open it up back here, you can really feel the speed of this thing. This is really nice. I feel like we're really moving now too. Wow. So I mean, it's called Train Mountain for a reason. We're out in the middle of, I don't want to say nowhere, but somewhere beautiful, as opposed to a model train for the kids to come see on the weekend that goes through a little village. So we're really out in the wilderness. These are things you have to think about, especially when running a railroad. But you can never get too comfortable. We've got a derailment. Oh no, it's the car I was on.
Oh, okay.
Just the rear. I swear I didn't do anything. I was just sitting. Train Mountain was founded and developed by Quentin Breen, who was a fan of K&W Model Train Club here.
Why here is because the K&W already existed.
Okay.
And so it was a group from Medford that would come over and work. And when Quentin came up to see K&W, he just got to looking around and realized there was a lot more land available adjacent. So he started buying up land and got the idea that, you know, if he would supply the materials and the property, that the people would come to volunteer to do the labor.
Now what I want to know is how the length of this track compares to that of a full-size railroad. We said there was 37 miles of track?
36, 37, depending on who you talk to.
Okay, so we'll say 25 miles of main line at 1/8 scale, so multiply it by 8 to make it real world scale. That's the equivalent of 200 miles of mainland track that you can run on.
Yeah.
Wow! I guess that's what really makes this a hobbyist haven, is because you just have so much track to run along.
Yeah, it's so different than all the other tracks of this scale, because they usually have 4, 5, 6 acres and you know, a mile, 2 miles of track.
You're running in loops.
Yeah. We're basically running on 2 parallel tracks right now, a track out and a track back, and we're going to run, as the crow flies, probably about 3 miles out, 3 back, but by train we're going to go 10 miles round trip.
That's a lot. And if you don't believe me that the track covers as much distance as we say, you can notice a drastic change in the landscape as we continue out to the turnaround point. Honestly, I couldn't think of a more picturesque backdrop for a model railroad. There's just something relaxing about the wind in your hair as you roll through the open Oregon forest, to wind through the tracks with the clickety-clacking under our feet. And of course, we have another derailment. Railroading is a dangerous business after all. Lucky enough for us, these ones are pretty easy to put back on track. This is an actual water tank.
Yes. Yes.
And is this to fill the steam trains?
Yes.
They've made it this far, they're out of water.
Right.
Now, trust me when I say we rode the train all the way back, but for the sake of timing, I'm gonna skip ahead and get us back to the Grand Junction and Main Yard, as we're headed to the famous turntable. So everyone stores their trains inside these containers, but there are some containers back on the other side, and to get through there, little path, and onto, it's called a transfer table. And this is the transfer table. You would disconnect it. This whole transfer table runs on train tracks and train wheels, and you simply move it up and down until it's in front of your garage, and then load it in there. That is a very cool solution to a very unique problem. So tracks here, tracks down there, tracks here, tracks up here. So you have extra box cars, extra passenger cars, more box cars. Wow. Now, the only thing that I find more impressive than the transfer table is the turntable. Now it's a one-way track here, so to get to the turntable, we have to go around the small loop down here again, and
yeah, we're gonna have to go out here and go down and around and come back and loop back through.
but I promise it's going to be worth it. So can you quickly tell me what the purpose of a turntable is?
Well, it's in a normal railroad, it would be to turn the locomotive around to run the other direction. The steam engines particularly, you really couldn't run them backwards. The diesels will run either direction and they don't care. But the steamers you had to turn around, so every major terminal had a turntable.
So like you were saying, it's more of a steam train era type thing.
Yes. Yes, it was.
So this is rare.
So it would allow us to back into any of these tracks, and then you'd have the roundhouse around the tracks to store the engines.
Now the nice thing about working with 1/8 scale models is that you can in fact push the turntables around by hand. Okay, I'm on. This really is everything I've always wanted as a kid, isn't it? Ron is very quiet, because this is not a place you want to derail. Which means there's only one thing left to do. We're headed to the 300-foot long tunnel. It's a full-scale crossing for us on a 1/8 scale train. We're hoping this is our final derailment of the day. Kevin, we should have had you with us all day. As you can tell, the sun is setting, which means we've been here all day. And all I can say is, I get it. So this tunnel is how long?
300 feet.
300 feet. Well, I guess that's the end of this video. I'm Mike. Thanks for watching Downey Live. This is Train Mountain, and I definitely recommend checking out Model Railroad in your town. I don't know where I'm going next, but I know I want you there with me. See ya!
That was cool. Too bad it's up in Oregon. I'd love to go see that too, but man, that's pretty far away. Anyway, you know, it is what it is. I'm trying to think. I think we still got. Yeah, we have two more that we got to watch. These are short ones. I'm going to run this one here. This is a model railroad that they're building, or already built, in Logan, West Virginia. Now, Ken Amos isn't in here tonight, but I don't know how far away it is from him because he moved to West Virginia. So if he catches the replay, hopefully maybe it's near him and he can go check it out. Pretty cool. Let's check it out.
A dream more than 40 years in the making has come to fruition for a group of model train enthusiasts. 13 News reporter Blake DeJarnett visited the newest addition to the city of Logan and says they want everyone to get on board.
Growing up in the southern coalfields at the height of coal production sparked a passion in Keith Vernatter that has lasted him a lifetime.
I've always been interested in trains. I grew up across from the Peach Creek Yard, so that was my entertainment, and playing on the riverbank and watching trains.
Since he was a young boy, Vernatter has been building model trains, accompanying railroads, and miniature townscapes to boot. He's taken them to conventions and shows for decades. But now, he and the Island Creek Model Railroad Club Incorporated have come together to create a museum they hope anybody can enjoy.
We all just enjoy what we do. And we like talking to other people and getting ideas. And, you know, somebody really wants to know what something is, we'll explain to them the best that we can.
From coal mines to train stations to Main Street stretches, West Virginia is the inspiration for this exhibit. Vernatter says the beauty of it all is that everybody sees a different Mountain State town in his club's creations, and that's just the way he likes it.
A lot of people come in here, well, I see Batewell and I see Dale Barton, and that's what you want. I mean, you know, some of the older people come in here and it brings back so many memories for them. And if you can make somebody smile by remembering their childhood, then that means a whole lot.
Whether it's the older generation taking a stroll down memory lane or field trips to demonstrate to students early West Virginia industry, nobody pays a dime for admittance.
There's no money worth a child's smile. And that smile means a lot more than any dollar bill.
Located across from the Logan County Courthouse, the Island Creek Bonnell Railroad Club Incorporated Museum is open Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. As long as you have a passion for learning more about West Virginia's history, you'll be welcomed in with open arms.
We are West Virginians, and we're proud of our state, we're proud of our county, and that's what we've always tried to stress, that this is our heritage.
Reporting from Logan, Blake DeJarnett, 13 News.
That was cool. Once again, it's too far for me to drive, but I may have to just break down and go and start traveling a little bit. I don't know. I'm missing out on so many things, but they're all far away. Ain't nothing happens down here in Florida, you know. Oh, well, I am going to the Villages train show. Me and my wife and Tom Kvichak from Tom's Trains and Things and his wife Debbie, we're going together in February. I think February 7th. Can't wait for that. And that's the first train show I've been to in 2 or 3 years now, I think. Been a while, because the last time we went with them, and that was the one in Tampa, I believe. So, but I'm looking forward to it. Gerald Stewart, Merry Christmas, my friend. Santa Claus, or Santa Stewart. Glad to see you here, and Merry Christmas to you. You know, I have to catch the replay because I ran a few videos, and I think you sent 1 or 2 of them. I don't remember which ones were which, but I'm running all the videos that were sent to me, and one that I found I'm running tonight as a, as a Christmas special. Because the reality is I don't have much to talk about. Anyway, glad you're here. So I've got 2 other short ones too to watch. And where are they? This one here is a live steam one. I don't remember the scale, but it's small. Guy does ride behind it. It's only a couple minutes long, so I'm going to go ahead and run it right now. Hard to believe that little engine can pull that guy around like that, isn't it? Pretty cool. I'd like to ride on something like that, man. That'd be fun. Papa John says I could go gator hunting. Yeah, I could, but I don't move very fast. I'd probably get eaten before I got to son of a bitch. It would be cool, though, wouldn't it? Other than that, though, there's not really a lot of stuff goes on around. We have a lot more train shows than some other parts of the country, but you gotta have money for that, too. I don't like the window shop. If I go somewhere, I want to spend some money, and I just don't have a lot of money to spend. So I'm hoping that when I go up in February with Tom and Debbie, I'll have at least a couple $100 to blow. And that's my plan anyway. I should have my property taxes paid before then, So whatever I got left over from February's check, I'm gonna go buy some train stuff. Don't worry, I'll record the haul. The loco is pretty strong. I would have thought it would just spin the wheel. Well, yeah, it did. You saw some wheel spin when he first started taking off, if you were to look real close. But I mean, it really is amazing that, you know, I don't know how heavy it is. It must be somewhat heavy, because he looked like he's over 200 pounds. You know, I realize they're on bearing wheels and all, but still, it's pretty impressive to pull around a guy that size, or even my size for that matter. I weigh, you know, 219. I'm pretty big, so that'd be cool to do, though, wouldn't it? It's amazing how much power steam produces, even on a very tiny scale like that. So now multiply that by 10,000 times in like a big boy, and imagine the horsepower and the pulling capacity that thing has. Really, damn, I got hiccups. Really impressive. So that was pretty cool. And what do we got left after that? I think we got one left. This one's, I don't know, I don't remember if I played this at the beginning or not. I might have. I'm gonna play it again anyway because it's funny. It's only a little over a minute, so I'm gonna go ahead and run it.
Someone says there are only two things in life that you worry about: whether you're healthy or whether you're sick. If you're healthy, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you're sick, you got two things to worry about: whether you're gonna get better, whether you're gonna get worse. You get better, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you get worse, you got two things to worry about: whether you're gonna live, or whether you're gonna die. If you live, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you die, you got two things. Whether you're going to heaven, whether you're going to hell. If you go to heaven, you ain't got nothing to worry about. But if you go to hell, you got two things to worry about: original or extra crispy. That's the
I thought that was funny. I have a similar sign behind me. It's a little different on the ending. It does the same thing, but I think it says, if you go to heaven, there's nothing to worry about. But if you go to hell, you'll be so busy shaking hands with old friends, you won't need to worry. So, or you won't have time to worry. So it's a little twist on that, because the first time around I go, I know this one. So it was still funny though. Amen. It's probably true too, you know. I was telling my wife this morning, I says, you know, when the time comes and the good and the bad are going to be separated, the good will hopefully go to heaven and the bad will probably definitely go into hell. The hell's going to be really crowded. There's a whole bunch of people that I'm pretty sure are going straight to hell. Mostly politicians and such, you know, but I think it's crazy, man. So, that's all the videos we got to show, and we got them out of the way, so I spent about 3 hours getting them integrated into OBS so I could show them. Other than that, like I said, I'm working on this once again, the Amtrak coach, getting the lighting set up in it, and built an interior for it. I'm not going to paint the interior, I'm just going to leave it gray. I'm going to put more people in it. But I've got a like a keep alive circuit and a buckboard to lower the voltage down to 3 volts from the 14 volt track voltage. And I had it working for a bit and then it quit. It turns out the, like I always keep forgetting what the hell them things are called. One of the circuits went bad on it. I got to replace it. The rectifier. The rectifier pin broke off. I don't know how. So I've got more rectifiers in a box back there, so I'm going to solder one on and it should be okay. I should get everything running. And I've got these, they're LED, round LED bulbs. These are 3-volt bulbs. I bought 100 of them. Of course, you have to solder wires onto them, which is no big deal. And we'll get them laid in and get it set up so I can get it on the overhead rail. And then I've got to find another one like it. You know, cheap. Because I bought that used. So it's a blue box. You can see that better there. It actually was lighted, but a single light bulb in the center, no interior. Like, why? Why bother putting a light in it, right? But it was a blue box, so I'm going to see if I can find another one just like it. And as I said earlier, I want to pay $15 for it. I got a hell of a deal, so. But I haven't been able to find another one like it. I'm sure somebody's got one. I have to keep my eyes open. No, actually I did not. And I could finish that and use that as a second coach for the Amtrak. You know, I forgot all about that. It's sitting up on the bench over there, and all I got to do is hook up the lights for it, and it's ready to rock and roll. Because I already did the interior for it and all that, and got pretty much, you know, I've changed out the trucks. I've got electrified trucks in there now, or powered trucks. I'll look at it and see. So the problem I had, you remember, I printed these are 3D printed, and lights do work in it. It works exactly the way it's supposed to. The problem is, it pulls great, but you can't push it. If you try and push it, it'll derail around the corners. And I think it's the way these trucks are set up. They don't roll very well, even though I lubricated them. And these are technically the wrong dimension anyway. They're a little bit too long, and they're a lot shorter than the actual stock one. So I'm probably going to strip everything out of this and toss the body shell away. But, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, before 8 o'clock rolls around, I'm going to do a giveaway. It's only one thing. It's all I have. I've been talking about it for a few weeks now. I need to get up off my butt to get it. This is a Proza's automatic ballast glue applicator. Brand new. Still in the box. And all the stuff that comes with it. The filler syringe and the whole 9 on some plus instructions. I didn't like it, so I bought it for no good reason. Maybe one of you guys, lucky winner, will have a good use for it. I paid like, I think it was like 50 or 60 bucks for it. But you know, what am I going to do with it? Now I've got the ballast spreader from the same company. It works great. I love it, and I'm keeping that. But this is specifically for the glue. And it's electronic, so it puts down a predetermined amount of glue on your ballast on the track. So, said you read the instructions. So what I'm going to do on this is, we're going to do the numbers game on this. Remember the numbers game? So let me write a number down that you can't see. Okay, it's going to be a number between 1 and 50. And, because I can't show you a number because then you would win, right? I'm going to put it aside there. I do have the number written down, so When I say go, not yet. Start punching in numbers. You can type in as many numbers as you want. And when I see the winning number, I'll tell you to stop and we'll determine who won. Are you ready? Go. You guys can go now. There we go. Somebody started. All right, stop. We got a winner. And the number 39, and I believe Derek got it. Y'all can stop now. Now you can stop for real. Let me put stop down there. There's nobody out there. Nobody out there. No. Here, come over here and lie down. Go lie down. Good boy. Yeah, from what I'm seeing here, Derek Alexander is the winner. So Derek, I already have your address and I'll get that mailed out to you probably right after January 1st. So congrats on the win. Enjoy it. I hope it works better for you than it did for me. Hey, Mike Lockhart, how you doing? Merry Christmas. I just subscribed to your channel. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. The more the merrier. I hope you enjoy your time here. Everybody, please welcome Mike. So, I wish I had more to do the giveaway with, but that was all I have that's, worth giving away. So I was going to give away these 3D printed ones, but I wound up getting them anyway, so not worth, doing anything with them. Now, as many of you know, I've already said that I'm going to change the paint scheme on my personal locomotives, the Millennium County locomotives, and any Millennium County boxcars, or some of them anyway. It's going to be a... hold on a second. No, the trucks were not printed, Tom. I purchased them. Like I said, it's just... you really can't take them apart, I don't think. I did lubricate them, because they actually have bearings in them. But they just don't... They don't spin as well as I like. They're pretty nice, actually. So I'll use them for something. I'm not worried about it, just not those. What was I saying? I forgot. Oh, yeah. So my new paint scheme is going to be a medium metallic blue and a metallic silver. I'm not sure of the design yet, but I'll let you know. And when I do, I'm going to be giving away some boxcars. And we'll probably do the same thing with the numbers game. So I don't know when this will happen. It could be a month or so, but I'm going to do it. And of course I'm going to repaint my locomotives too, but I won't be giving them away. Now Mike says he's from Odessa, Missouri. Well, cool, man. You're up in the north. You probably got snow on the ground where you're at, right? Check out the Katy trucks. Yeah, these weren't Katie's. I don't remember who. I know these were expensive. I paid like $20 for a pair of them. You know, because they're powered. And at the time, it was the only ones I could find. I'll look into the Cadies, though. So, as I'm saying, is sometimes it's hard to find the right stuff. Because I can't put my hands on them, you know, because of mail order. You never really know what you're going to get, you know. So, kind of a, you know, get it, and if it's nice, fine. If not, send it back. But I didn't really think these were going to be a problem because I wound up buying 3 pairs of them. Like I said, I'll still use them, but not on the passenger coaches. I'll use them on cabooses, or like I've got a sound car with the cow sounds in it. You know, a stake body box car, so I'll use them for that as well. So I'll make use of them, not a loss. Merry Christmas, Mike. Same to you, man. Hope you had a good one, and hope you got some train stuff. I didn't get any train stuff except for I bought myself this passenger car, but that was it. We're tight on money this year. I mean, my wife's getting cataract surgery in January. She's long overdue for it. So I finally kind of almost threatened her. I said, look, you're either going to go blind or you're going to get him fixed. Quit screwing around, go get him fixed. So she's going to get that taken care of because she's literally blind right now. I mean, it's bad. So I had cataract surgery done 6 years ago. Best thing I ever had done. I mean, as soon as I got to the point where I couldn't see worth the shit, I went ahead and got them done. It did cost me a little bit because, you know, I had insurance, you know, Medicare, but I laid out, I think, close to $2,000 out of pocket. But, and like I said, I really don't need glasses to see distance. I need to see them up close. These are readers. But my eyesight's perfect for long distance. I wore glasses most of my life for long distance, so that was kind of a nice treat. So she got that going on, and we're both, you know, put a little bit of money into that to help her out as much as I can. I got my property taxes, which are a little higher than, you know, the year previously. So I got to put that together. I'm almost got that done, so it's just one thing after another. Then, and to make things even worse, you know, the house breaks. It just does. You know, it's an older house from '94, and the braided line that goes from the sink to the refrigerator for the ice maker, it blew. So I had to turn that off. The one going to the dishwasher is leaking, so we had to turn that off. And the cold side on the faucet started leaking, we had to turn that off. These are all braided lines, you know, but they were probably, you know, from '94. So the only thing we got right now is hot water, and I may have to turn that off pretty soon too. So what I have to do is I'm gonna have to pull the sink up off the counter and rework everything. It's a clusterfuck under there, and I'm kind of an expert plumber, electrician, whatever, so I'm gonna redo it the right way. All new braided lines and new faucet because the faucet leaks, you know, and it's just something, you know, that's gonna happen, but the timing is terrible. Tim, did your new gilf move in yet? Oh, I'm not sure what you mean by gilf, but yeah, the mother-in-law is moving out on the 28th at the guest house, and Tina, another elderly lady, she'll be moving in on the 1st. And that worked out real good for me because there's literally no slack as far as getting paid, you know, because I kind of need that revenue, you know. So, and that's what's helping pay the taxes as well. So, yeah, Tina will be moving in on the 1st. And, you know, she's an elderly lady, but she's disabled. She uses a walker. Nice lady, though. I met her once at New Hope. Every Thanksgiving we go to New Hope, and they have a Thanksgiving dinner for elderly people. And since whether I want to admit it or not, I'm fucking old. Me and Deb went this past year and the year before, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. So when my mother-in-law said she was moving out, she's going into assisted living. I said, all right, fine. So I called another friend from New Hope, and I said, Ann, could you ask around to see if anybody wants to rent my apartment, 2 hours go by, she said, I got the perfect tenant for you. Great, send her over. So a week went by, she came by with her daughter, and, she put down her deposit to move in, and we're good to go. Grandma. I mean, not the same as a MILF, because I wouldn't want to. But she's a nice woman, she really is. But I think she's in her either late 70s, early 80s, But she's ecstatic. She's like, because, I'm only charging $600 a month. It's 450 square foot with a separate bathroom that's integrated into it. Don't have a stove, but I got a full refrigerator, a sink, and I supply a hot plate so they can cook on. It just doesn't have an oven, but we didn't really have room for a stove, so I didn't ever put one in. But she said, I don't care. She says, this place is perfect for $600. She says, do I have to pay less? It's not. Everything's included. Electric, air conditioning, internet. You got, Wi-Fi, and actually I got an Ethernet cable. She wants to hook into her TV. She'll get a good signal for that. So, I mean, it's a hell of a deal, and I'm not being greedy. I know I could get more. But I'd rather have somebody in there that's going to take care of the place and appreciate the better price, and they're a little more likely to want to stay longer, So we'll see. So, I mean, like I said, good and bad and everything. The house is falling apart in some ways, but in other ways, like I said, I will get it taken care of. That's the biggest problem I have right now is in the kitchen, and it was rather unexpected how everything went like at the same time, And I'm thinking, this is bullshit, I can't one thing go wrong. I mean, a new braided line for the refrigerator is $10 or $12 on Amazon. I'm going to go ahead and order one next month. It's nothing. But now I need 2 braided lines for the faucet. The faucet's $103 for a mowing. I won't buy anything but a mowing. The line for the dishwasher is $14 braided. And I think that's all I need for that. And I got to get a cap because I've got one of those, I don't know what you call them, like a coffee water thing. It's supposed to be a pure water thing that is beside the, because that water is not fit to drink unless you filter it. I have a big filter, a standalone like a Berkey, but it's not a Berkey, that I filter all my water that we actually drink in. But this one's on the sink. It's got a little thing, a lever, and I'm going to get rid of that because it leaks. It leaks from the day we came in. And they got a bucket underneath the sink with a filter in the bucket. And the filter's probably from 94. It ain't no good no more. I'm getting rid of that shit. And I'm going to clean up everything under there. I'm going to have to put a new floor in the bottom of the sink because, it's been leaking for a while and it starts to rot it, so. One thing after another, but I'll get it straightened out, so. I'm not too worried about it. Still stuff I can do. I just can't get under there to work underneath, so I'm going to pull the sink up. And the nice thing is, they said original sink, stainless steel. Well, the rail that with the locks on it, they're just regular metal. And I stuck my hand up under there and it falls off, The sink itself is fine, but the locks are shot. That's good. I could just pry the thing up, bust them off, and I'll silicone it in when I put it back down, and it'll be fine until I have to take it back up again. Because at some point I want to replace the counters too. The counters are, they're tile. Fucking ugly as shit. I don't like them, and I want to put a Formica, countertop in there, and that's what I'm going to wind up doing. But I don't know when. So we get that straightened out. That's really the only big problem. I still have to go in the master bathroom and replace a wall that I tore out because we had a leak. I thought it was behind the wall. Turns out it was between the outer wall and the inner and the framework. So I tore that inside wall out for nothing. So I got to replace that, just, drywall it. I don't think I'm going to put tile in. I'm just going to paint it, put the toilet back over, its mounting hole, and get that operational again, and we'll be good to go until the next problem. And I just replaced one of the tankless heaters. Said the water quality's so bad in my house, well, in this area, that it destroys things. And I didn't know you're supposed to clean a tankless heater. The one I had back in Naples, I paid over $1,000 for. There was no maintenance on it. I mean, I had it for like 10 years. It worked as good 10 years down the road as the day I put it in. These little units, they're about $300 each. I got two of them. One for half the house, the other for the other half of the house. And I tried cleaning it. It was too late. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to replace it. And I'll clean them out every year now after that. So I know how. I even bought a cleaning kit to clean the heater. So just, it's always something, I got enough fucking things to deal with. But it is what it is, so, But other than that, we're doing pretty good. Once Deb gets her eyes fixed, I think that's going to take a lot of worry and pressure off of her, because she's having a tough time. And she's scared to death of doing the surgery. And I said, look, I had it done. It's not a big thing. The surgical procedure only lasts about 15-20 minutes. You're knocked out anyway. You don't know what's going on. They only do one eye at a time in case they screw up. You don't go completely blind. I don't know if you'd go back to the second eye if they fucked up the first one. I wouldn't. I'd be going somewhere else. But, I said, it's a piece of cake. Just do it. Well, I'm afraid. I said, why are you afraid? The worst that can happen is you go blind. You're fucking blind already. Because she has the one eye, I think it's the right eye, it's a mature cataract. And she literally can't see out of that eye anymore. I mean, it's pretty much useless. And the left one's starting to get that way because she waited too long. I said, if you wait too long, you will go blind. They won't be able to fix it. I said, you don't want to go through life blind, so get it done. And I can't hold their hand because they won't let me in there while they're doing it. But I'll be in the same building with her, But typical woman, they're afraid of everything, I said, nobody's ever died getting cataract surgery, to my knowledge, Now, my mother had LASIK done on her eyes because she wore glasses too, and it was all vanity. She don't wear glasses anymore. She had it done, and they left her legally blind. She had to give up her driver's license because she wasn't safe for her to drive a car anymore. I said, did you sue him? She said, well, I didn't think about it. Man, I'd have sued them for every dime. Yeah, JD, as you've got, I mean, it's a world of difference, And whatever problems you had prior to that, they go away in most cases. Now, they told me, well, you may need glasses down the road. But it's been 6 years and still doing good. Like I said, I can see far with no problem. But seeing up close, I need the readers. But mine were bad. I stopped driving while I was waiting to get them done because I told my wife, I'm not safe to drive a car. And I said, I'm a damn good driver. But if I can't see, I'm not taking that chance, slamming into somebody or something. Now, the weird thing is, I had the first one done. A week later, I had the big heart attack. I spent 3 weeks up in Orlando getting a pacemaker and stents and the whole 9 yards. And I went almost 2 months with only one good eye, and the other one was still screwed. And I couldn't drive with that either because it threw off. I could ignore an eye to a certain point, but it would stress the good eye. So I said, I'm not going to do it until I get it fixed. So when I got the second one done, I said, oh man, it's like getting brand new eyesight, Only way to go. Yeah, same thing. Well, they give you the choice, JD, because they asked me, they said, you want to see far or do you want to see close? And I said, nah, I've never been able to see far. I'd rather see far. I really didn't think about everything I do. But I said, wow, we can, you know, because I couldn't afford, they have, well, it's weird, now they have ones that actually change. They adjust far or close. But prior to that, when I had mine done, they'd put a near one in one eye and a far one in the other one. But you'd have to train yourself to, it sounded too complicated. Now, just let me see far, I'll be fine. I don't mind wearing readers, you know. So, and of course, that was really the only two choices they had, you know. It was these ones here, the regular ones that I got, or the ones for, you could see both, far and close, but separate eyes. Now, when my wife went, you know, she went, we took her down a couple weeks ago, and she said, well, we have 3 different options for your cataract surgery for the lenses. And I'm going, well, shit, when do they start doing that? We got the cheap ones, which I told her, don't get the cheap ones, you'll regret it. And they got the mid-range is what she's going for. There's $650 a lens that insurance won't cover. Or we got the real expensive ones, they're like thousands of dollars. You know, I'm thinking, oh, that's a nice choice, you know. Tom says at 70, my eyes are still 20/20. I'm amazed every time I have. Well, you're lucky, Tom, but obviously you don't. It doesn't run in your family. I mean, in my case, my mother had glasses. Her mother had glasses. I needed them. My brother needs them. My sister, I think she needs them. My dad, he had good vision till the day he died at 91. He had wear readers for up close, but his far vision was perfect. He never had cataracts or anything. Nowadays, cataracts are like a given. They blame it on the sunlight, but I think that's bullshit. It's something else, you know. Because I'm thinking, all right, so everybody's out in the sun at some point. You know, I never wore sunglasses or anything, and neither did my dad. So why did he not get them, but I did, you know. Did my mother get them? I don't remember. No, my mother didn't get them either. They said she had LASIK to improve her vision, but she didn't have cataract surgery. So, I don't know. Here's looking at you, kid. All right. I've worn glasses for 60 years. Well, same here. You know, it's funny because I used to wear my mom's glasses when I was a little kid, and she'd say you're gonna ruin your eyesight. Nah, that's a lie. You know, I was like 8 years old at the time. You know, well, 10 years old, I needed glasses, and I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but you know. So I've had them since I was 10 years old. I'm 66. So yeah, 59 years I wore glasses basically. So like I said, it's been 6 years since I got my eyes fixed. And I tell you, it's nice. I mean, you wake up in the morning, you can see clearly. You know. You get in the car, see all the signs and everything else down the road. I mean, it's great, you know. Because prior to that, I was kind of legally blind. I had 20/60 vision. You know, I had Coke bottle lenses. I mean, they were bad, you know. And I could see up close real good without any help, but I couldn't see, you know, 20 foot in front of me without the glasses. So when they gave me that opportunity, I jumped on it, man. And I really didn't care. I mean, because Medicare would pick up the drops that you had to put in before, during, and after. But there were 2 different drops that you had to use, and it was a pain in the ass. I said, he said, yeah, we got the single vial that you use for the whole thing, one for each eye, but they're $150. Said, there you go, get them for me, you know. I had to pay out of pocket, but it was definitely worth the money. Gerald says, I got my first pair in 4th grade. Let's see, how old would you be in 4th? 8 years old, I think? I don't know. Thomas says, I can see clearly now at the sun. Right here, bud. No, I kid. You're lucky, because like I said, not everybody's that lucky. I mean, I hated wearing glasses. I mean, you know, in school, 4 eyes, you know, was the common thing. Look, there's 4 eyes, you know. And it kind of sucked. I didn't really let it bother me, but, you know, still. GRE 2057 said wore glasses since I was 6 years old, and I just turned 34 on the 38th of November. Wow. 6 years old, that's young. Although I've seen glasses on 2-year-olds. I don't know how they do an eye test, because you kind of have to convey what's going on. Well, at least you did back in the day. Now the machine can tell you what you need. I don't know how, but so Gerald said 9. Okay, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It sucks. I really hated wearing the glasses. I did go to contacts when I was in my, let's see, 27, 20. When I turned 29, the girl I was dating, she had contacts. And we used to swap. We had the same script. So she was, you know how to use these. Not really. She said, well, I'll teach you. Okay, fine. So she would take hers out and show me how to put them in. You know, we'd sterilize them. You know. But hers were, they were blue tinted, because she had green eyes, you know, naturally. And it was really cool because I look weird with blue eyes, you know. But I learned how to put them in real quick. And I said, you know, I want to go get me some. So I went to the optometrist, and they said, I want to get contacts. I said, well, you can't get contacts. Why not? Because you're a guy. What the fuck's that got to do with anything? And he says, well, men don't know how to put contacts. I said, give me a pair. I'll show you how well I put them in. He didn't believe me, so he gave me a pair, you know, didn't have any magnification on them. Like a practice pair, I guess. And I put them in. He says, I've never seen that done in 40 years. I said, well, you've seen it now. Can we get going on these things? I want to get them, you know. He says, well, you have to do a specific eye test for it. And so I did all that. And at the time, they didn't have the throwaways. All they had was daily wear and extended wear. And one of the problems I had a bad astigmatism. You know, a football-shaped eye. But it was real bad, and they wanted to give me astigmatic lenses. I said, well, all right, whatever. You know what the hell you're talking about. So they got me. Well, the astigmatic lenses are football-shaped, and they're weighted on the bottom. So when you put them in, they rotate to match the curvature of your eye. I had more problems with them damn things. I went back after, I think, like a month, and I said, look, these aren't working for me. Give me the regular ones. He said, well, you have, I said, I don't care. Give me the regular ones. I said, well, my girlfriends, they're not astigmatic, and I got no problems with them. Well, I don't think they're going to work. I said, I don't care what you think. You're not getting paid to think, you're getting paid to do, so give me the regular ones. So they did, and they worked fine for me. You know, but like I said, I got the daily wears, and I started looking at, well, you know, but I could get the extended wears. Of course, they cost more. And I'm trying to think, what the hell is the difference between a daily wear and extended wear? They try to say, well, the extended wear lets more water through, and I'm going, oh, bullshit. They're vinyl, you know. So I started wearing my daily wears 24/7. I'd wear them for a week, sometimes 2 weeks at a time. Well, it turns out it was beneficial because it forced my eye to lose its astigmatism. So I went in, like, I think I got them like 3 or 4 times. I had to renew the script. So I wore them for like 7 years. And when the last time, he said, your astigmatism's gone. I said, well, you know, well, how's that? He said, you wear your contacts longer than you're supposed to? I said, yeah, I keep them in for a week at a time, sometimes longer. And they're daily wears. He said, well, apparently you forced your eye to conform to the lens instead of the other way around. I said, well, good for me, you know. JD said he was 6 when he got his. Yeah, that's a long time, man. Many of the kids in my grade school had glasses. I just have a pair of readers for the computer screen. Well, yeah, well, these ones aren't, but the one in the house, because I spend more time on the computer, the blue screen, blue blockers, readers, and they really do make a difference. But I'm not out here enough to. I should get another pair of blue blockers, but these aren't, though, I don't think. No, these aren't. But the blue blockers cost more, and like I said, I'm cheap. But that's really all I use these for. I mean, I'm watching TV or outside. I don't wear the readers. I don't need them. When I go into a store, though, like I went to get a lottery ticket yesterday because, you know, it's 1.4 billion or something like that, you know. Says I'm going to buy a couple of tickets, you know. You know, the ones the pick 6 or pick 5 and then Powerball. I couldn't see that thing the same way. I had to go back out to the car. I keep a pair of readers with an arm missing, you know. And I grabbed them and I said, all right, now I can do it. Because I couldn't see to mark the numbers on the damn card. And I run into that problem more often now. I'll go someplace. I go to the doctor. I don't bring my readers with me. I need you to fill out this paperwork. Can't do it. You're going to have to read it off. I'll give you the answer because I can't see it. Where's your glasses? I left them at home, you know. And they get mad because, you know, they actually got to work for their money, but I don't give a shit. No. It's fun to do anyway. But yeah, it's like, you know. And that was one of the best things I did. Like I said, I didn't hesitate. I immediately got the first one done, but like I said, I had the heart attack. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I was in ICU. I was in bad shape, I guess. Although I didn't know it. I thought I was fine. They're going, oh, you know, you're really sick. You could die. And I'm going, I'll be fine. So when I got out, then I had to make an appointment to get the second one done. That took a few weeks. So it was almost 2 months before I got the second one done from the first one. Because normally you get one done the first week, the second one done the second week, you know. So it was rough not having a good eye, but and like I said, I learned at some point I could shut one eye off without closing it, ignore it. But the eye I had done was the one that the one that was worse. So the good eye, I couldn't ignore that one. I could ignore the bad eye, you know, after it was fixed. So it's like, well, this sucks. I did it ass backwards. Gerald says the contact manufacturers got fined by the federal government because all their contacts were the same. Yeah, I figured that anyway, you know. And toward the end, I bought the throwaway ones, you know, the ones you use once, and then you throw them away. And I'd wear them for a fucking week at a time, too, because it was actually cheaper for me to do it that way. But I always assume that they're all the same. It's a piece of vinyl. How could one let more water in than the other one? I mean, you know, there's no holes in the fucking thing. So I always figured they were pulling my chain anyway. Apparently they were. Yeah, it's fucked up, but it's true. I mean, this is the way they do things. They do shit with a lot of stuff, you know. Why does why this one cost more, but it does the same thing as the other one, and it should be the same price, but as I said, even the lens, I think the lens they put in cataract surgery is basically a contact lens. As near as I can, it's just a permanently attached one, because they put it underneath your something or another there. Why does it cost $650? It's probably the exact same damn thing as a throwaway or a regular contact lens, but you know, because they're inserting it, well, we get more money for this now. It's it's probably bullshit, right? It has to be. But that's the way medicine works, you know. Anything they can bend, it's like Deb's insurance. She had Aetna, which I never liked Aetna anyway. I don't know why she got it. They covered some of the stuff, but they wouldn't cover the clinic fee, which is bullshit. That's a fake fee they charge you because the insurance won't give them what they want, so they throw that in there so they can get cash money to make up for what the insurance company won't pay. Then there's other fees. All these fucking hidden fees they're charging you for. It should be illegal, but it's not. My mother had hard contacts, Gerald. Little fucking tiny things. They were always falling out of her eyes. And me and my sister, we'd be on the ground looking for them. Luckily, we always found her. She paid crazy money for them things, too. She got them back in 1968, I think. Because she hated wearing glasses, and she convinced my dad she needed contacts. He wound up paying for them, of course. And I think she paid, like $1,800 for them. And they didn't have the soft contacts yet, I don't think. Because she got the hard ones. They were like glass. And they were real tiny. And you had to put them in. If you went in the pool or anything, they would just float right off. They were gone. You know. So, and like I said, if you blinked the wrong way, they'd fall out. Everybody stop, don't move. I lost my contact, and the damn things are so tiny, You know, we actually got to get on our knees to look for the damn thing. Thank God we never stepped on it or kneeled on it. Yeah, I mean, they gave me, do you want hard contacts or soft? I says, you're asking me that for real? You know, I'll take the soft contacts. I know how to put them in anyway. The hard ones, screw that, you know. So, strange stuff. I mean, it's a shame that they can't. My wife was looking into it because, like I said, she was really afraid of doing the surgery. I kind of don't blame her in a way, but she's also being childish. But there is a way, at least there used to be a way, to naturally correct the cataracts, but nobody knows what it is anymore. You know, I mean, there's a few wives' tales out there. If you do this, you know, yeah, it might work. It might make it worse. So right now, the only really simple way to do it is just get the operation. Because my wife had perfect eyesight before the cataract, you know. She really didn't need, well, I think she wore readers a little bit because, you know, of her age. But in the most part, though, her eyes were fine. And even now, even with the cataract, she could still see up close to some degree, at least out of one eye. And because, you know, sometimes I watch something on TV and I'll style, come over and check this out, you know, and she has to get up close and look at it, but she does figure it out. So, you know, she's been so long since she couldn't see well. And when she does see well, she's going to think she died and was reborn. That was kind of how I felt, too. It's like, man, I don't need glasses or contacts or anything now. This is fucking great, you know. I could buy regular sunglasses. They say, you know, after you get the surgery, you should wear sunglasses outside all the time. And I do. Especially when I'm driving. So, I went out, I bought myself a nice pair of shades and, you know, we're good to go. Prior to that, I very rarely wore sunglasses because, well, before the surgery, I had to wear glasses. Well, before the contacts anyway. I used to get the clip-on sunglasses that flipped up. You'd put them over your prescription glasses and you flip them up or flip them down. I did do the, what do they call, the ones that change color? The color, their tint, whatever they're called. I had a pair of glasses, actual real glass lenses. And it had the photo gray, or, well, I had a different name for it then. Those were great. So I bought a pair of the plastic ones that change tint. They don't work worth a shit. So the last pair of glasses I bought, I asked the guy, I says, can I get glasses with actual glass lenses? He says, yeah, you're going to cost more. I said, that's fine. I want the photo grays, but I want real glass. He says, yeah, we can do that. So I went and did the test, paid some money up front, and 3 weeks later, he said, well, we can't do the glass. I said, well, doing it then. I already tried the plastic, they don't work. Oh, but ours do. I said, yeah, you're going to say that because you want to sell them. They don't work. You know, so I said, if I can't get them in glass, I'm just not getting them. I'll just get regular glasses, I'll go somewhere else, you know. That's the way it went. But there are places where you can still buy the lenses that are actually glass. But see, the glass is nice because they're hand ground. Most of your lenses now, the plastic ones, or they got some other term for them, but they're plastic. They're done by a machine. They're not hand ground like they used to in the old days. So any moron could go into the place where he works and type in some numbers, set the lens in there, hit go, and the machine does all the work for him, but not always right, you know. When they were hand ground, you had, you know, craftsmen that actually ground the lens. They knew what the hell they were doing. You don't have that anymore. They got fucking yo-yos doing it. So, you know, it is what it is. So, that's my story, you know, and I'm sticking to it. And it's not really a story, it's the truth, but, you know. So, let's see what else we got going on here. So yeah, I want to get this lighted card done. I don't know when I can afford to buy the motor, man. If they actually have one at the train show up in the villages, and it's either the same price or even a little cheaper, I'll buy it then. Otherwise, I'll have to get it from the company that makes it. And I believe it's $130 now. Plus shipping, I'm sure. But I'm going to have it for that because I want that to be automated. Literally go from station to station on its own. It's not a loop. Comes here, stops, backs up, goes around. You know. And that's why I said I have to have cars. The coaches have to be able to push as well as being pulled because they're going to be going both ways. Worst comes to worst, I might have to buy another P42 and put it on the tail end and program it, you know, to that end. But I don't really want to do that because, like I said, I'm cheap. I mean, you know, this hobby's costing me a fortune, and y'all know that anyway. It costs all of us a fortune, so I mean, you try and save money wherever you can. And because I don't have a lot of money anyway. I mean, I'll have more next year after the property taxes are paid. So, well, and then some of the repairs in the house will have to be dealt with too. But hopefully, I can put a little bit more money into the layout and get more accomplished. Like I said, I've got to put the helix outside, and I'm going to build an enclosure for the helix. I was going to put a shed up out there and put it inside the shed, but that's a waste of space and money. As I could build a 4-foot by 4-foot enclosure, bolt it to the wall, have, you know, doors on both sides in the face, swing up, you know, unlock and swing up for access to the helix. Because the helix is only going to be, I think, I think it's 26 inches tall. So you're looking at what, 3 or 4 levels? Not much. But it is going to be 4 foot wide by 4 foot deep because, you know, I'm going to put, I think 26 degree curves on it. But so it's smarter to do it that way. I could easily do that out of wood. Like I said, I'll bolt it right to the shed. Then over here where I'm going to put the room in, I'm going to buy a shed for that. But I've got to put on a floor first outside because the shed doesn't have its own floor. So I've got to basically build a deck, so to speak. Put that in. 3/4 inch plywood on top of that. Buy the shed, assemble it. Gonna bolt it right to this shed. Put a hole over here for access. You know, a doorway. And of course put electric in there because I'll need electric. And I think that's going to be 10 or either 8 by 6 or 10 by 8. Not sure yet. Depends what's available. They're relatively inexpensive, so I've got a little bit of leeway. But I'll have to know what I'm going to get before I put the floor in because I don't want to make a bigger floor than I need. So all together is probably going to wind up costing me about $500-600, which is fine, you know. Depending on what the wood cost. I don't know, wood prices went up or not. I've heard they have, but I haven't actually looked. So, Rick says the hobby is pricey for rolling stock. I know, it's ridiculous. I said, I was at Walters and Rapido. Have some really nice Amtrak passenger coaches. Anywhere from $118 to $160. And they're not even lighted. If you want lighting, you got to buy the light kit for them and install that. It's like another $27. I'm thinking it's fucking plastic, you know. They should come lit regardless, you know, and engineered into the price somehow. But I mean, how do they justify $118 for an empty shell? You know, I'm not sure if they come with interiors or not. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But that's a piece of plastic too. I mean, come on. This shit's all injection molded anyway. It's not like it's breaking the bank to make this damn things. But that's what's going on, you know, and it's crazy. And there's some stuff out there that really crazy priced. I mean, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? I saw, was at Train World, they had a set of 2, count them, 1, 2, Rapido coaches that were Amtrak. They wanted $474 for them. Yes, they were lighted. They probably suck your dick too, I don't know. I mean, for that price they ought to. How do you justify $472 for 2 85-foot coaches with lights in it? You know. I mean, I'm sure some bonehead will buy it, but otherwise they wouldn't have that price. But I ain't the bonehead that's going to do it. Even if I had the money, I wouldn't blow it like that. Derek says, yeah, Rick, we have to hope that 3D printing gets better and people put out the templates for cars. They already are. They're out there. And the biggest problem with 3D printing and rolling stock is you got to have a good printer. Now, the Viper was good when I first bought it. It's getting worn out. The prints are not that great anymore. Now, Tom Grassi, he's got the Bamboo Labs A1 and the A1 Mini, or the Mini. I want to buy an A1 next year, probably around June, July, because it does a much better job, much faster. And if you want, you can even get the multiple color unit for it, which I don't really need, but it's just a better printer all the ways around. Like I said, my Vipers are, you know, they're going to wind up in the trash probably. And, you know, they're at the point, the first one I have, the oldest one, it's had multiple issues with it that I've had to replace and repair parts. They don't make parts for them anymore, except for, really, the only thing you get for them is a hot end or a universal drive belt. Universal drive belts are problematic right off the bat. Circuit boards, it's not available anymore. So, and they do this shit on purpose, you know that, you know. As JD said earlier, planned obsolescence. But it looks like that Bamboo Labs might be the one to go to. So that's what I'm going to get, like I said, June or July. Just going to get one for now. And, I mean, I've seen the work that Tom Grassi's done on his, and I'll tell you, it prints beautifully. Almost no flaws at all. And that's, the Viper used to be that way when it was new. Now, not so much. No matter what I do, I can't make it work like it did when it was new. That's just the nature of the machine, I guess. Derek says, I saw that Big Jim made a tank car and it was on Joe Rader's layout. I made a few tank cars. I've got one that runs on mine. I'm printing everything but the main body. And I don't remember who it was that told me this. Says, go ahead and use a drain pipe for a bathroom sink, because they're 1 3/4, I think, or 1.5 diameter. The perfect scale, HO. And you just cut off the length you need. I print the caps and print the frame. And I actually even printed the trucks for them. Put metal wheels on them, Katy couplers. And you got a nice smooth tanker. If you print the actual body, it's not going to be smooth. You can make it smooth, but it's a lot of work, not worth the aggravation. Rick says, for one Atlas container, 48 foot or 53 foot, container is 20. I know, it's ridiculous. I could print containers all day long for a nickel each. I mean, I would probably sell them for, 50 cents or $1. I don't look to make a ton of money on them, but, they're just as good as the ones you buy in the store. I made a shitload of my own containers. I plan on making more. Tom says, Jim, I have 3 lighted coaches, 73 foot. Did not make the curves on my passenger train. Well, you running? Are you running 18-degree curves? They say they run on 18s, but they really don't. I mean, realistically, you want to be at least 24, 26. The wider, the better. Mine are all 28 and 30 degree curves. So I don't have to worry about that, But, and of course, it depends on the brand, too. Some brands are better than others. I had some IHC, what's that, International, or I don't remember what they stand for, but it was a common brand. No, they were River Rossi's that I had. I bought them used. Bought 5 of them, passenger coaches. Them fucking things wouldn't stand a track to save your life. And I'm running, like I said, 28-inch curves, 28-degree curves. Still had issues with it. So I wound up selling the damn things. I won't buy River Rossies ever again. JD says, I like my A1. I know, it's a great machine, man. As I said, I'm going to buy one. The prices come down a little bit on it. And I think they're a little over 300, somewhere around there. I don't need the color unit that goes with the AMS. I don't need that. I just need the basic printer, you know. But it does such a great job that I'm thinking, time to retire these puppies. Tom says, the problem with rolling stock is it's hard to find good STL files for them. That's true to a certain degree, depending what you want. I mean, I've been lucky so far. I've got flat car STL files that print out nice. Some of you guys have gotten some of my flat cars with, you know, log loads or wood loads on them. I got a few for myself I made. I had to modify them. You know, the way they came off, they weren't right, you know. Well, these guys design shit. They don't actually test it, you know. Same with my weld cards. Now, I've had good luck with my weld cards, 3D printed. Tom printed a bunch of them, and he had a lot of issues with them. He finally got fed up and just bought some. I don't blame him. You know, but mine actually worked pretty good. I've got 5 of them, you know. And I changed the linkage between them. I modified. Because the way it comes on the file, it's a bad design. So I improved the design and they work well for me. They said the test, you know, I can also fill it with sand or whatever to get the weight. Because that's another problem. The only place you can put weight in a tanker is in the damn tank itself, really. So, I mean, there are things you can do. And I've made a couple. I've designed a couple of rolling stocks. I have the chlorine car, back from like the 40s. It's a modified flat car that holds the chlorine tanks. They can make the extra chlorine tanks. I've got that, and I've also got a cement car. It's an old one once again too, so you know, where Tom, he built one, is a little bit more modern. His came out nice too. But I mean, I've done pretty good. Oh shit, I'm in the red. Damn it. Fucking internet. What happened here? Fuck it up. Now it's in the green. It's in the green. Okay, we're back on again. Okay, we're back on again. But I lost the internet. Now it's back in the red again. Motherfucker. Off again. Alright guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Oh, we're back on the green again. Hey, I guess Comcast wants me to get with Starlink, you know? It's gonna happen. Alright, well, I'm gonna wrap it up anyway. So, yeah, it's almost 9 o'clock. We're just gonna call it a night. Anyway, I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. And I hope you all got what you wanted for Christmas. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Play with your trains. And we'll see you next year. And yes, I'll be doing a live stream New Year's Day. Because, you know, I'm crazy that way. I'm going to put the outro up and I said, I'll see you next year. Merry Christmas, everyone. Bernard, you're gonna have to watch the replay, man. You missed the whole show. Merry Christmas, though, my friend.